Hey, it's the Low Life Podcast.
Do you know anything about hackers? Can you jam the pop from Cowboys and Cyberspace? Ever read Neuromancer? Ever experienced the new wave? Next wave? Dream wave? Or cyberpunk? I didn't think so. It may be. It's a world where you don't do the same thing. I'm going to look like. A world where curiosity and imagination.
I'd buy that for $1. Hack the planet! Hack the planet! Hack the planet! Hack the planet! Shut up and get in the car!
Go away, Baton!
Well, this is the Low Life Podcast. You're in a neon dystopia. I am Collapse McGillicuddy here with, and we weren't expecting you here, scum.
No. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be here, but you guys were in need.
Yeah.
And,
Welcome. Yeah, I mean, this is going to be funny. Shadowlink.
Death to Black Friday and Death to Cyber Monday.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
apparently we forgot about Cyberpunk Day, but hang out with us on the 24th.
Oh, right. Yeah.
it's never...
We're doing
we'll
a movie
talk.
marathon.
We'll get to it in a second. We got Zero.
Hi, I'm here again.
For now.
Feeling a little deja vu, dude.
This is the second attempt. Zero had a power outage.
It's very
And
strange.
we
Every
lost-
time the power goes out here outside the nation's capital, I'm just like, is this it? Is this the putsch? Substation on 495, 5 minutes walk from my house. I didn't feel any percussion, but
Yeah, you get your head on a swivel these days, I'm sure. I mean, my God.
percussion, whatever.
Concussion, percussion, it's timpani,
Concussion.
I'm feeling them both.
pimpani. And we're also joined with the cyberpunk librarian, our buddy Dan.
Hello.
And
Hi.
let's just get the business out of the way. We already said all this stuff in the other recording that you'll never hear, but you should know that we have a website called neondystopia.com with a bunch of new writing, and they're twice a month. And the way that happens is because we have a Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/neondystopia and kick us a buck, that goes to paying the writers to get the new fiction here on the bleeding edge of cyberpunk dystopia fiction.
And thank you guys again. Thank you to our patrons for contributing, because we can only do that because you guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, throw us a little cash and we'll keep cranking out the fiction.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, and hit me up on Blue Sky, since people are suddenly blue skying now.
Mass exodus over there.
Yeah. Oh, and make sure you, if you do go to our Patreon, go through a browser. Don't go through the fucking Apple app, because they take a cut and they didn't do anything. But kiss my ass. And their fucking music store is unsearchable. They could
Oh, don't even get me started.
eat my shit.
We won't
hair.
even get into the topic if you get me started on that shit.
Yeah.
So I've already had a beer. I'm working on the second one. We're going to be here a while.
That's the Patreon pitch. The only other thing I was going to say is before a peek behind the curtain. We had to the horrible sponsors is a bit. They're not real sponsors that are approaching us. Had to put that on the shelf for a little bit because there's like
it's aligning a little too closely to reality.
Half a dozen of them that were written that are actually like real things or close enough to real things or about to be real things. So
How much money do you think it would take for us to get RFK's Worm on the podcast?
I don't know. We can talk to Tim Onion.
You can't get to the worm.
Oh yeah, that's the
Tim Onion.
Right
Here's
Here's
our
people,
section.
PR people as handlers. No, you can't get to the worm.
Damn.
God damn.
So it's like, what does his brain taste like?
I'm pudding or like dead bear hide. I don't know.
Oh, you could have stopped at just dead bear.
And like we said before, movie marathon Sunday, November 24th. It'll be in the Discord, which we'll have the link to that. In the
What
chat
time's it
below.
starting? 12
It starts
noon
at
Eastern.
noon. Yes,
Eastern Standard Time. That's Greenwich time plus 05.
Yes, films are to be determined at this point, but we're going to hold a vote.
Yeah, we'll see what we can get
in the week. So a few days before.
Yeah. Or
actually, tomorrow might be a good time to get that.
Or fuck it. Yeah, I mean, you know what? We should play the next movie, the next episode movie.
Ooh,
not well. Why not?
We're not going to tell you what it is.
Oh my god!
Oh god!
It's a Thanksgiving special.
Yeah.
And Charlie Brown is nowhere in it.
It fits in. It fits squarely in both camps here. So I'm just saying. Yeah. All right. So here, cool. We've made another promise that we may or may not keep. What we've gathered here today to discuss is. I don't know how it came up, but we just heard somewhere basically that this movie was kind of like an unofficial, thought of, sort of, kind of maybe sequel to the movie we just talked about a month or two ago called The Conversation.
Yeah.
And it's only because Gene Hackman's in both movies. It's just
hadn't realized it upon originally seeing this in the theater back in like 98, 99, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, and there are so many callbacks to The Conversation in this film. It's insane. Like, I mean, it wanted to be this movie. It wanted to be The Conversation so hard, but oh man,
we'll get into it. The difference in tone is The Conversation is a babbling brook, a calm stream, a meadow,
slow burn, as we say.
And this is like the bombing of Arnhem.
It's the enemy of the conversation, if you will.
Yeah, in so many ways. Like this. Oh, we'll get into it, but the pacing is just...
I have such a picture about what this movie was like.
Here's the thing.
Title?
You're probably right.
Oh, the title of the movie is 1998's Enemy of the State, directed by Tony Scott. And now,
Enemy of the State.
We're going to do that thing that I did last time, the last time we were talking, but not for as long. So, what's nice is that last time I fucked up, and now I'm getting it right. Ridley Scott and Tony Scott are brothers.
Yeah. Blew my mind. Didn't realize that at all.
They're both great.
Didn't realize
great filmmakers
because they do not make the same movies at all.
But it's weird because I made the mistake of for the longest time. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, Ridley clearly made The Hunger. You know, he had that weird, fucking Roy Batty soliloquy at the end. Of course, he's a bit of an auteur at heart. You know, look at Blade Runner. It's all this. It's tonally weird and it has. Slow film, you expect it to be this, but it's this. And Tony Scott is the guy who actually did The Hunger, and then he went on to do like Top Gun and Days of Thunder and a bunch of other really fun shit like Deja Vu.
And the thing is, everything that I've seen, I mean, I've only seen Unstoppable and this movie by Tony Scott, but it's just like they feel the same in so many ways. Just the way that he
has a style, yeah.
Well,
you're going to show up at one of his movies.
John Woo action movie kind of bullshit.
In the same way that every Ridley Scott film has like a scene with like floating dust particles, all of the Tony Scott films seem to have a lot of scenes where things are being communicated over radio headsets, and it's not easy to get the actors and like the editing just like down pat for it to flow, but it really works.
Yeah, as fast as it is. And that's the thing. Okay, I got a few little factoids I got from the IMDb about this that I found to be pretty interesting. There are a bunch of people supposed to play these roles, and it just didn't kind of pan out for various reasons. And these are the ones that I thought that were the most interesting. Like Stallone was actually up for this.
For Will Smith's part?
No.
Well, no.
Okay, so writing credits in this movie, right? It goes to when you see the credits, it says David Marconi. I looked him up. He did a few things. I don't remember what they are. I was just like, I don't know if I've seen any of these.
He plays the Mamba.
God damn it! But
sorry.
It turns out that the writing credits in this movie's early promotional material read written by David Marconi and Aaron Sorkin.
That actually so much more sense. A lot of the dialogue is very West Wingy when you
But hey, wait, no. See here, it finishes strong. There's Henry Bean. I didn't look him up. I'm sorry. And then also Tony Gilroy, who's the shit. Tony Gilroy is a great fucking writer. He's done some of my. Oh man, if you, look, as much as I like Network, the only movie I like almost as much as Network is Michael Clayton. It'll peel your shit back. It's it's a talky movie, but my god, like Tilda Swinton's in it, George Clooney, it's fucking awesome.
I'll watch anything with Tilda Swinton.
Yeah.
But Gilroy also wrote the first season of Andor, which is what, like, apparently
chef's kiss.
Yeah. He also wrote if he didn't write all of it, he did most of the principal writing on Rogue One too.
Oh yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he was the original director.
Yeah,
he had it taken from him or something.
Yeah,
wow.
Because Disney, and it's still a good
he
movie.
Writes very tight stories.
You know? Oh yeah, he doesn't waste your time.
Yeah,
which is offset by the presence of Sorkin. But anyway, point being,
I was going to say, kind of wants to be.
I was going to say, my brain is clogged now when you said that, because now I'm just thinking to the West Wing, like, is this an in-universe film? Because all I know about this film
here's the thing. Here's the thing. He wasn't going to be a principal. He was going to be like a script doctor. Because, he did, fucking...
That's somehow worse than
tons of films. No, he's done tons of films. And some of them are actually watchable. You know what I mean? But, okay, so Tom Cruise was originally cast in the movie, but he turned it down because he's still filming Eyes Wide Shut. Sean Connery was considered for the role of Brill the next year. Both he and Will Smith would have been in The Matrix had the original casting for The Matrix been down.
So I'm so glad that we got Lawrence Fishburne would have knocked it out of the park. By comparison to Connery, fuck Connery. He's a piece of shit.
Yeah. Clooney was also considered for Will Smith's role, but the previous year he was in the Peacemaker. I think Nicole Kidman was in that with him. Or something, no.
I think
was it her? Yeah,
Connery
because
would have been a disaster, wouldn't he? Would have been just like Highlander.
Yeah,
so it made him much dumber.
I'm just cashing my check, Yeah. But here's the fun thing. So we got, as we're talking about the link between the two movies, Hackman played a cop named Brill in a 1968 movie starring the fucking all-star running back Jim Brown called The Split. And I need to see this movie because Borgnine's in it. And I'm like,
his character Brill
always entertaining.
In this movie, dresses up as a cop in the later scene.
There's a lot of homages to some former roles that Hackman has done.
Which is weird when you say this, because it's like all of these things that they did in the movie. It's like, well, they wouldn't have done any of that if it'd been like fucking Sean Connery or something.
Yeah.
Well, and here's the thing I didn't think of before. I saw this movie first.
Yeah.
I didn't see The Conversation first, and I didn't see The Conversation for years later, like 5-10 years later, where I was just sitting down, being like looking at that era, watching Dog Day, watching
right. That's when I saw it.
Yeah,
fucking the other one that he was in, French Connection.
Yeah,
classic.
He's such a bastard in that movie. Just fucking amazing. But anyway, so here he is, kind of reprising the role a bit. And it feels like it. It feels like he thought about this and he said, well, what would Harry do 20 years later, 30 years later? What would he be like? What would, if he survived, what would have happened to him?
Yeah.
And fuck, man, especially watching these two movies in order so close together. I'm like, this resonates really hard in spite of the fact that the average shot length in this movie is 2.4 seconds.
What the fuck?
No.
No, this
is at the
pour one out for the editor.
This is like before Paul Greengrass did like the second and third Bourne movies, where it looked like
it was kind of in my mind.
Remember those old timey things where they just put a belt around your belly and it would just like shake your belly? That's where like all of their cameramen have. It's fucking steady cam.
Oh man,
there were steadier cams in the Blair Witch Project. So.
Oh my god. I have, like, the opening scene of Narc is almost a still painting compared to most of this.
It's like the more you tell me about this film, the more I'm like, wow, I get motion sick. I'm glad I skipped this shit. All I know is there's helicopters because you guys are talking about it.
Check it out.
There is a helicopter.
So many helicopters.
I'll fucking mail you my copy, dude. I paid $2
yeah, right.
23 cents for this.
It's definitely worth watching. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, right.
No, it's
100%.
I liked it more upon a second
entertaining.
watching than the first time I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But again, like I said before, I think I mentioned it was a weird time. This was released in the late 90s, 98.
Yeah.
Cold War was done. We still hadn't really fully pivoted into the war on terror yet.
We hadn't really figured out who the next enemy was, and who our next scapegoat was.
And this was kind of like a this was kind of like a showing off of the technology that won the last war, because like the keyhole spy satellites figure into it really well.
They're called out by name.
There's like a bunch of like cyber stuff that they do. There's a couple
This is like
we'll get into with some photo
this
analysis.
is like the old era of techno thriller. That's like in the wake of like Tom Clancy's shit. You know,
100. It feels like the books.
Yeah, it's like
interesting.
Techno thrillers, in my opinion, didn't really start to get good until like it started to cross over with modern day like cyberpunk shit. This. Because there's still like a sense of morality in this movie that just feels very ham-fisted in this like America rah rah kind of. I mean, I know it's not
because they're all on board with it at first, and then by the end of the movie, some of them aren't. No, I picked that thread up for sure. Yeah.
But Regina King.
Yeah, she's right the whole time.
She's the only one the whole time. She's just like, y'all are full of bullshit. If they redid this, if they did like Enemy of the Corporation, okay, and they filmed this in the year of our Lord 2024, she would be like, you know, all this AI shit is bullshit, right? Right, opening scene of the movie. And then halfway through the movie, what's left of Will Smith would have to turn to her and say, you're right.
You were right about everything.
Oh man!
You kind of look at the core of it when you strip it away. We were mentioning too. It's basically the same story as in Swordfish, where it's like a murky government agency that is going rogue to protect our freedoms by breaking the law and kind of.
The major difference is
at times.
This is good.
You didn't like Swordfish?
This is a better movie.
Yeah.
Did we not like Swordfish?
Were you not entertained?
I was not.
It's such a bad fucking movie.
I mean, no, you know what? I'm not even going to say that. Here's the thing. That movie's a fucking cartoon compared to this movie, which is trying
with
dead level damnedest best to...
I mean, this one has tits too, but like...
But they're covered in lingerie.
Yeah.
It was really
ridiculously thrown in there. It's also just no need to be there.
Well, that's the thing. It doesn't add anything to the movie except lay him in. Well, here's the interesting thing. Okay, so we're going to talk about eventually. Fuck this movie. I don't need to talk about it in order because there's too much that happens. It's a 2-hour, 11-minute movie full of Vine videos.
Yeah,
like, it's just.
The color on it and like the effects. Yeah.
So this is a Zoomer. This is a film for Zoomers, then.
If you don't need Adderall, but you take Adderall and you watch this movie, it'll make perfect sense.
And it's other thing too with the title cards that show you the location and the place you're talking about. All have that like
this is a very cokey movie.
Oh yes, every time the computer does something, it must go.
Oh yeah, the old school like fucking cheesy ass sound effects. Oh man.
Oh, here's my favorite thing. My favorite thing was finding out that the satellites, every time they would cut to these like CGI satellites, like they're not even moving. They're just in orbit and the camera's stationary. But as they approach you, because you can hear in space, they're making this sound.
Yeah, the whole and it's kind of dial-up sound.
Well, it's Morse code for CQ. Which isn't a.
You picked that up too, huh? Yeah.
I don't hate that. Like that's actually a.
That is a wink and a nod.
If anyone listening has seen the Discovery Channel show Where on Earth, that's basically like the premise of this kind of writ large, where they show like weird satellite images and like pseudo intellectual quote unquote experts talk about it. The whole like premise for the title bumpers on that show is pretty much ripped off from every time this movie goes up to the satellite, which, by the way, they talk about hundreds of satellites that they can task at any time. And there's only ever showing one satellite. And the keyhole satellites do not look anything like that. Like I took a look just to be sure, but no.
And Scum, you'll appreciate this. This movie definitely, to me, has a lot of like Watchdog vibes. Like Watchdog definitely took a lot of like stylistic notes from this movie.
As we're talking, I just I keep thinking back to various scenes of the movie, and I smile a little bit. Where I'm just like, I'm just like, fuck yeah, man! Like that was awesome. I'm not going to take that away from you because I have one more fun little trivia detail that we won't get to till later. But like, this seemed weird. Like, I'm trying to imagine them filming this in DC. Basically, what happens is, here's the gist of it.
It is not DC. This is not DC.
No,
it is.
it's not.
Some of it is.
Some
No,
spots
a
are
couple of
definitely.
Some of it is, yeah.
It's on K Street for a little while. K Street is
There
like
are
the only
not
street in
high
DC.
rises. There are no high rises in DC. Okay, there's nothing
is the only
higher than the
street.
Capitol.
Well, no. But here's the thing: right
K
across
Street is the
river
only
Arlington.
street in DC where they have like 5, 6, 8-story buildings, and if you film it right, it can look like high rise. I used to drive home on K Street every day, and there's like the financial district looks the closest to a real city that DC can look.
And you just got to cross the bridge to Arlington, and you got like 20. Because like that whole thing is only, and I don't know how long that's going to last. I mean, it's not going to last like that. But anyway, a whole bunch of shit happens where you find out fucking Will Smith's a lawyer. Then you find out he's got to get Christmas presents on the way home, and he's apparently already stopped at one store, and he goes into this lingerie shop. And in this lingerie shop, this place is an actual location in DC, but back in '98. It was a renowned, I think, LGBTQ plus.
Huh.
Yeah, it was a bookstore, and they just kind of retrofitted it and switched out the front and stuff and used the location. Because, like, Tony was cool. You know what I mean? He's like, yeah, we're going to pay you a bunch of money to shut down for about a week. Will Smith's going to be here. Is that all right? You know, like...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's the one piece that was just kind of like out of place because who goes to a lingerie store where the models model the lingerie for you? It just seemed like a really weird business.
It's weird. It's a really weird. It's just.
I don't think that's a lingerie. I don't think that's a lingerie shop, sir. I think it's a peep show.
Yeah,
it's
a lot more stripper clubby.
Yeah, it feels like you would see something like that, like more in New York City. But then again, this is Washington D.C. We're talking about, dog. Okay, like
I've been there.
They got stuff, guys. They got stuff. You know what I mean? Like this, but in the context of this movie, it felt a little out. It felt like this belonged in The Crow.
I'm just really interesting. I'm just envisioning him, Mr. Magooing his way. He's like, I got to go to the lingerie store for my gal.
And it totally plays that way. Good call.
It just goes. It just ends up at a peep show. Like,
good call.
Yeah,
he kind of flubs his way through this scene. Where he's like, I'm not good at this. Well, not shopping for lingerie, but like sex. I'm good at sex. You know, like that's kind of the gist of the way he's coming across.
It's really badly, like really it's poorly scripted.
Weird foot in the mouth kind of talk. It's like if you're gonna be all awkward and weird like that, don't go to that kind of shop, man.
Yeah. Second of all, you're making Will motherfucking Smith do this. Yeah, you don't buy it. Like it's
it was
at this
not
point in his career, he's a little too smooth.
Yeah.
He's kind of the guy. He played Ali by now. You know what I mean?
Well, his character is very weird too because he's like very competent, but also like extremely not thinking forward or able to.
They use the line, "You're either very smart or very stupid."
Yeah.
Like several times.
Yeah.
And
the whole beginning of the movie
pays off.
In the whole beginning of the movie, you find out he's this labor lawyer, and he's trying to threaten some mob boss to like back off of this labor contract.
Yeah, Tom Sizemore
by getting like a secret
of Strange Days fame.
Getting a secret video of him like breaking parole violation. And again, it's Tom Sizemore who spends his
No, wait, hold up. Who's his partner? The guy that looks like Sons of Anarchy. Who is that actor? Because I've seen him in a few things, and I've never really quite seen him play like a lawyer before. He's the guy with the long hair.
Right, yeah. I don't know who his partner is. I don't know. But I know who you're talking about. He's got the beard.
He's like guy you love to see, but like I can never fucking remember his name. And this movie's from '98, and now I feel really bad.
Yeah.
You know, like anyway, but Tom Sizemore. Okay. He's the sweatiest human being.
Yes. You can smell him.
Ever in the history of cinema. I'm watching this on a DVD, like not HD, not Blu-ray, like old school. Like this was when it came out on DVD, like 6 months later. Shit, it's in 4K.
And those like cardboard cases with a little flippy thing on the end.
No, it's a clamshell. But I mean, this man is drenched. His sweat is wet.
Well, I have to say, if you spend all day, every waking hour in the kitchen of a restaurant, you're gonna look like that. This
especially an Italian restaurant.
Conveniently, he's the NPC that's always there when you need him to be. Like at the end of the thing, at the movie's like that, there with his kids eating dinner. I guess he never leaves the kitchen of the restaurant.
Kids, not sweaty. Men sitting around the table with him, guess what? Not sweaty. Tom Sizemore, literally looks like
sweaty
he
as
walked
fuck.
through a fucking dam.
Yeah, he's got like the Coke
Went through a
sweats
car
going
wash.
on.
Coke sweats. Like, that's what it looked like.
Yeah, because his
I don't
eyes are
know
all
if it was-
wide and spinning in his sockets. It's pretty.
I'm not entirely sure he was okay during the filming of his scenes.
Yeah.
I'm hoping, because Tom Sizemore is one of them actors that you love to see him. He's intense. He brings something to it. He was great in fucking Private Ryan and stuff. Like, he was a really good character actor for a bit, and then he just disappeared.
Yeah.
And apparently he's making a bit of a comeback. So I'm kind of, hey.
Well, you
pull it
heard
from
about
people.
the incident with the prosthetic penis, right?
Okay, then.
Excuse me.
He had a really bad drug problem, and for a very long time he had to piss for his like probation.
Yeah.
And it came out that he was using he's
Fake-
buying
fake
clean piss
bladder.
using a prosthetic penis to
Oh shit.
pass the.
Okay.
They watch you do it when.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
Yeah.
I heard.
But with a sobering note on that, Tom Sizemore ain't making a comeback. He died March 3rd, 2023.
Oh shit.
Aw.
Oh, wait. Oh,
Yeah.
fuck. How did I not...
Yeah, the last movie I saw.
All I'm
with
doing
him
is
in it
saving the emails, which will, it's a,
Right,
well,
yeah,
actually,
yeah,
did
yeah.
you know that?
was Atomica with Don. Well, no, not. Fuck, what's his name?
Who?
Dominic Monaghan, and that's not a good movie, you guys.
Atomica with him?
Yeah, Tom
Yeah,
Sizemore.
He
and
had some
Dominic
straight to
Monaghan.
DVD days.
But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter that much because he's not in the movie for that long anyway. And
Yeah.
No, he
He's
kind
in
of
a-
shows
he
up
does
as a
kinda-
that guy. Yeah, he's
He
a
does.
that guy.
He does
He's
own
in
his
a
scenes,
couple of-
though.
Yeah, he's in a couple of pivotal scenes. He's a lot of fun at the end.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's the best at the end.
Yeah, he wins it.
It's like, holy shit.
I want to go back to like the opening scene, which, man, it just.
Which one?
Well,
we got John Voight on the boat
Yeah.
dock in Occoquan.
Right.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
we
we
were-
skipped the murder.
We were talking a lot about John Voight on the last recording.
Yeah, John Voight. Okay, so John
Oh
Voight
my
shows up and it's like instant piece of shit because
Yeah.
Jason Robards
Head of
is
the
there,
NSA.
guy you love to see. Jason Robards playing with his dog in the park. John Voight shows up. You're like, that man's dead.
Yep.
And then they make you wait.
Maybe
like
the dog
2
too. You
minutes.
don't know.
Yeah, no. To this movie's credit, none of the animals get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They make a
That's-
point of it. They actually like go after like the cat. Like it's
Well, and they call out like in the news broadcast about the dead senator or whatever that his dog is safe and is staying with a friend.
right. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
I wonder what
God.
the deal with that was, because that's kind of like, it's nice when you see it, but when you're like, now pat me on the back about it,
Is that some weird cynicism of like, who gives a fuck about the senator, but the dog's okay?
right.
Exactly.
Well,
Well,
that was
there-
always
there was
always.
And
I mean, it's a trope.
And
The
we-
evening news, you have all this bad news, and then they're like,
But
and then here's Coco the stray.
it's
got
literally
adopted.
called a fluffy puppy update.
The NSA head is trying to get the senator to vote for him on this basically Patriot Act bill so that he can protect America.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm not gonna do that shit. And then they'd kill him. They stick a syringe in his throat and make it look like he had a heart attack, and they
Wow.
roll the car into the
They got him with the
Can I-
heart attack
water.
syringe.
And
Can I
Yeah.
point out something though about that scene that really just got to me?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we stuck a needle in his neck. A fucking autopsy will find that. So
Yeah.
okay, fine.
And they did
So
say
this is going to
behind
come
the
up as murder. He
ear,
didn't have a heart attack, and then
I think I know what you're going to say. Go ahead.
yeah. Then they like dump him in his car, and I guess they're
Yep.
gonna like try and frame him as there was like something wrong with him or whatever. So they dump a bunch of pills on
Yes.
the floorboard of the car, and
Yes.
then shove the car into the fucking lake or river. What
I've got my hands raised.
the
Mhm.
pills
Crazy.
are fucking gone in
Yeah.
10 minutes.
Preach. Preach.
But this comes back later in the movie when you find out, and this is not this is not really a spoiler. You find out that the people that are involved in this, like the bad guys, aren't really good at their job.
They're
Not
kind of
great.
goons.
They're
yeah,
not
a lot of
good
good
at this.
ideas.
No, absolutely. Like, I mean, you
This
find
is-
out. Oh man.
Even John Voight's character, the big bad guy, there is a scene in the movie where his trophy wife is calling him out for being like really kind of shit at his job, and he should have been a director 2 years ago.
Yeah.
She's
I
like,
mean,
by the end of next year, you might make it. Kind of shit. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
it's great.
well, as the movie went on, it's
Well,
like,
that's Anna
okay,
Gunn,
I'm
by the
not
way.
pissed about the pills anymore. It's like, okay, this makes sense. They're just kind of dumb. They're not
Okay, so-
really good at this.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you said
Two-
too before, like the pivotal scene where you realize like they just committed this murder across from a video camera that a
Yes.
wildlife
Yeah,
expert is
in a very large wooden box with a window on it.
With
Yeah.
like
And
a
it's pointing
automobile front
directly-
windshield window. go on.
Yeah, and it's pointed directly at the scene. You would think, that these people would have just like,
we got to help Scum here.
Okay,
I wish you guys could see my face right now.
They did. They did find it later. After all the police showed up, they did notice it. Then one of the guys that was.
Yeah, so you would think that they would get their guys to like, if you're going to commit a crime like this, you would canvass the area to make sure that I don't know, maybe there's like just somebody.
For people who know a lot about surveillance and where all the fucking cameras are all over Washington D.C., they didn't know where that one was.
Yeah.
Well, two things. One, it's 1998. Who are we fighting? Two.
Us. We're fighting us.
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
The U.S. is the bad guy.
I mean, as it is today, U.S. versus the U.S. But
here's how bad the bad guy is: the senator he kills is a Republican because he's like not as far. Like
that comes to my other thing. Then get him with the heart attack gun.
Yeah.
Why are you using a syringe, bro?
Yeah, it was.
I mean, it's so much movement. It's like Barry Pepper is in this scene, I think, and like Jake Busey and the James Caan's kid. Like let's talk about the Goon Squads.
There are a couple plot holes in this that are big enough to sail an entire aircraft carrier.
Sure, gotcha.
Before we jump off to the dramatis personae, this is like the bit where the guy on the ground notices the box, and conveniently the wildlife preservationist just is driving up there exactly at that time. He picks up the video camera and he's able to get a license plate reading off of him. And this is where it starts this just over and over again. Every time you get a license plate, they got you. You get a license plate, they got you. They get a license plate, they got you.
And he's got like a Sun Microsystems like fucking computer too.
I like how he just kind of like strolls into an area where there's a bunch of press and a bunch of people investigating the area.
Yeah. And he's just like, oh, that's weird.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah. Not my circus.
Let me just switch out my tape real quick.
My videotape of my geese.
Oh, and this is Jason Lee, by the way. One of my God, there's so many things I want to talk about right now. The first thing I'm going to talk about is like John Voight has two goon squads. Mm-hmm. They are diametrically opposed.
They're ops and tech.
And ops is like Hitler Youth. Like they're all blonde. And the best thing is, what's his name? Is it Scott Conn?
Yeah, Scott Conn.
Yeah. Scott Conn's hair is in this incredible, like, spiky sort of thing.
Oh, yeah.
They both got, like, Guile haircuts. And, like, later on, Jack Black makes a cut to that. I thought was one of my favorite things of the whole movie. He's like, oh, those guys are ops. He's like, you couldn't tell by their haircuts?
Yeah.
So true.
What? Who else is in this movie?
So that's the rest of the Goon Squad. Let's carry on with the Goon Squad.
Totally serious role.
Yeah, and well, here's the thing. So you have the ops guys, right? And oh my God, Scott Conn's hair. It seems like it gets taller. Like he looks like he's approaching the Static X guy.
Yeah, Wayne Static.
Jake Busey, Ian Holt.
By the end, I noticed that it was just like
Ian Hart.
His hair is very tall at this part.
Ian Hart is that the guy that I think looks like Gummo?
That's the Gummo.
Yes,
I'm
that's
so
Gummo.
sorry.
I mean, actually, the Gummo kid, but it looks kind of like the Gummo kid.
Right, but I don't. I feel bad for saying that. But on the other side, the tech guys, you got Jack Black, wisecracking. And you also have Seth Green, and Jamie Kennedy, and
all kind of insufferable people.
And they're good at their job.
Yeah,
like they're technically competent. Like they're able to track this kid down in the whole fucking 9 yards, and then they send the goon squad in to go do stuff. But these guys are like just jagoffs.
Technically competent, morally vacuous.
And really sort of naive and stupid, because there is like half of John Voight's, well, his name's Thomas Brian Reynolds, but
he was
John
born
Voight.
on 9/11.
Half of John Voight's goon squad is literally a hit squad, and the other half thinks they're on a training operation.
Right.
They keep saying, "Oh, it's a training op. You're doing one of those."
It's an STO, a standard training operation.
And all those people squad is really better described as like Keystone Ops. Like honestly,
I like that.
Hey, all the people we're killing, we're not killing them. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
we're thinking about it. I need you to not think about it.
And that's the thing. They all have character and personality. The one thing I like about this movie is that they're all given a little bit of room to breathe, which is probably what inflates the length of the film a bit. But all of it is in service of the plot. Like most of what they're saying, except for apparently, I didn't see the extended version of this movie, but apparently there's a scene where Jack Black is referring to the nanny driving.
Oh, yeah.
He like wants to get with her.
Yeah,
And in the extended cut, he really gets into how he likes hairy legs for like
Yeah.
a while.
She doesn't
Yeah, he
shave
definitely
her
admits-
legs. Let me chase the nanny.
He mentioned that, in the thing. Another pervy guy, just like
another-
had in the first
Which is yet another
Pervy lawyer.
callback to the conversation.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
someone
yeah.
on the on the team that is
Right.
in the van.
Perfect.
One of the
Except
van
it's
guys.
1998, so
Lawyer.
it has to be as tasteless as possible.
Well, here's the thing, though, about that. I feel like it was kind of focus grouped down to that because when did fucking Fight Club come out? 99.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the line from the book that they changed,
Yep.
was like,
Oh yeah.
you know, like
Oh man.
there's a difference in vibe.
They let
these
her
two
say
things.
anything she wanted, and
Yeah.
she said many things. And
Oh,
then they're
man.
like, you know what? We're going with the worst one possible.
Oh,
We're going to redo
So
that movie
good.
at some point.
but like this
We need
whole
to redone.
thing was this movie, man. I don't know. Like, I feel like we're going to get bogged down if we try to go too play by play with this. I think we kind of need to skip over some
Well,
of
the thing
things.
is if we do go play by play, we'd have to talk about what happened, then we'd have to talk about why that's wrong, and then we'd have to talk about what they should normally have done,
Let's put
and
it
then
this
we'll
way.
talk about why it was still a fun scene anyway.
Well, real quick, as someone who's never seen the film,
Yeah.
my brain is still kind of fucked up with the whole like lingerie peep show thing
Yeah.
about a movie that's about surveillance and the violation of privacy.
Let me
Well,
break
do-
this up to you real quick. What
Yeah.
happens is you get the senator who's being pressured by this NSA goon fuck to pass this law that's going to do the Patriot Act. Jason Lee is a wildlife fucking bird photographer who has a video that just apparently has like every either 2 hours he shows up and swaps out the tape or something like that. But in the middle of one of his gaps there, he catches the murder of this guy.
Oops.
Doesn't know he has it, takes it home. He's like flipping through, and as it kind of comes up on the news, he finds out. They know, he knows. We're also introduced to Will Smith at this time. It doesn't matter. He's dealing with this mobster guy. We'll get into that more. Eventually, like what happens is John Voight's goons absolutely know that this kid has it because they know where he lives, because they know who he is, because they see him on
The license
TV
plate.
and they freak out, and the license
yeah.
plate and all this shit. They're able to do the whole Blade Runner zoom in, enhance crap.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
that comes in a little bit later, but at this point they're also tapping his phones because they got all his phone conversation. Because the first thing he does is call a reporter, and then they say later, like, "Yeah, we killed the reporter, and we're after this guy now, trying to find the tape." They couldn't find the tape because he bumps into Will Smith at random, who happens to be like an old classmate of his.
Mhm.
Not hard to think about if they all both went to Georgetown.
Yeah.
And like
that's
he
not
drops the
unheard of,
tape in
yeah.
his bag. But this is the part
even
where like
that,
it's
even that
really
interaction just felt really choppy
Forced.
and just
Yeah.
thrown
Well,
in.
and keep in
Well,
mind,
he's
that-
running through. He's being chased by these guys with guns. He
Yeah.
runs through
But
all
he
these
just
back alleys, and he
immediately
just happens to
recognizes.
run from the back of this lingerie shop, runs into him. Obviously, doesn't want to talk. Slips the thing in his bag, takes off, and dies in the most just hilariously
Yeah.
spectacular.
Oh my
fucking
God.
it was really fun.
I mean,
He's
it is- it's
screamed
Jason
by a
Lee.
fire engine.
He
Yeah.
grabs a bike and he does a little. They like dick around for 15 seconds where
Like
he's
a
just like,
chase.
oh, he's getting away, and the guys on foot are almost as fast as he is on this bike, and then eventually he's like, I'm gonna run into traffic, and then he makes this jump and just square in the face of a fire truck, just smeared.
catches the roto ray. Just
Oh, and like they ran him over because they like he explodes midair. Like it's not like very they don't hold the shot very long, but when they do the top down like satellite view of it, boy, the
Yeah.
truck's like a little past him, you know, and the bike is all fucked up and he is flat.
A red stain.
he's redder than the fire truck.
It's one of my favorite character like introductions, I think.
Yeah.
But
for
this
like just an action movie.
this
Like,
point is where it kind of goes off the rails for me when they're so they realize that he had an interaction inside the store because they can somehow pump right into the store's security feed, which is a store that has ladies walk around in lingerie. Don't think about it.
What?
But anyhow, like they have like certain real physical angles of where these cameras are, and they like jump the shark here where they're like, okay, let's extrapolate what that angle would look like from this side. It's like you can't do that. You can't do that. It's like a Blade Runner.
Yeah, it literally like rotates
moment.
the whole
It does
the frozen image, and it does kind of
it's like the bullet time thing.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be terrible, except that the next plot point is like depends on whether or not he actually dropped something in there, and they decide that he must have been just based on this.
The shadow move.
So they're like, we're going to use our
impossible
imagination and be like, okay, he has it. Kill that.
Listen,
And
here's
dear
the
listener,
thing.
go ahead.
John Voight and none of his goons are, shall we say, anything but Caucasian.
Yeah.
And they all decide to go
no.
after Will Smith.
Fuck.
And here's the thing. It's not racist in this movie. It's just that's the thing. But you're looking at it for like a little bit, and it's just like, huh.
Just so happens.
Not even a couple
So Will
guys.
Smith has no idea what's like.
He has no clue.
No, he has no
idea.
clue that he has
He
this
just
thing.
he's
For
just
the
like,
next
why
half
are these
hour.
But the
why
thing
are these
is,
white
the rest
guys
of the movie.
chasing me?
He just knows that this dude he knew in school got hit by a fucking fire.
I want to talk about like the part where he like where Jason Lee copies the footage.
progress bar.
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
Sumo thing or whatever.
It's like
computers
some
used to
dancing.
be fun. Damn it.
Yeah,
Like
I
a
mean,
two-headed
it's not a
sumo.
thing that makes sense. This doesn't make sense at all.
Especially on a Sun workstation.
Yeah, it's like copying this video onto basically a Game Boy cartridge with this, like two-headed sumo.
He's
Not a
copying
Game Boy
onto he's copying it onto a PCMCIA storage card,
Mm-hmm.
which this is the thing I was trying to interject earlier. I mean, the thing is this is not a videotape. This is not a cassette tape.
Right.
This is a video that he's copied onto a PCMCIA storage card that he has decided to hide in the back of a Turbo Express 8-bit handheld console that played TurboGrafx 16 cards.
Wow.
And yes, listener, I did go through the goddamn measurements of how big the PCMCIA card would be versus how big a TurboGrafx 16 card is. And you know what? It would fit. It would fit. They were absolutely right. I thought they were full of shit, but it would fit.
This is why we love you.
That's a good little bit that they don't really even explain because they don't say that. You don't find out to the end that it's a game machine.
It's not even really brought up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's a good bit.
It
kind of just looks like
it looks like a Game Boy. I mean,
like
but you get a couple close-ups and you see, like
it's like
the
a chunky Game Boy.
Oh, it's a huge chunky Game Boy. It's this, and it's so weird. I mean, this is
like
a fucking handheld TurboGrafx 16. I
so
mean,
he like just put a video onto like his Neo Geo.
Basically,
yeah, no, it's even worse than a Neo Geo. I mean, the Neo Geo was a really good system. This thing is like literally a handheld TurboGrafx 16.
It's a brick. It's a brick is what it is. It's just a black brick with a screen.
Yeah.
Also,
I imagine it takes 8 AA's.
I used to have.
Ask me how I know.
I used to have like a handheld console that was called a GameCom, and it was kind of like that. It was like an oversized Game Boy Advance, and it's just
was that the
wild
one that
to
when
think
you
back.
turned it on, it went Gamecom?
active. Yeah.
Yep.
That
one.
Awesome.
Oh shit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We got that, man.
Here's the sad thing: the fucking thing is never functional in the movie once.
No.
Like
Well, Will Smith gets home and he's got ostensibly got this thing in his bag and he doesn't realize it at all. And like I guess off screen, his kid takes the thing out of the bag, and that's kind of like a pivotal point for the next big part of it. Because Will Smith has
never
no idea
actually see the kid do that.
why any of that
much later.
I was a little confused by that as well.
Does he turn it on? Does he
Not
play
until
it?
he admits to it.
Yeah, he tries to. He tries.
Well,
to
he
play
says
it,
that the screen is scrambled and everything, and I have a real hard time believing that a kid wouldn't flip the fucking thing over. It's like, well, this isn't a TurboGrafx 16 card. It's some bullshit.
Yeah.
That's funny. I don't even remember that memory style.
There's a lot.
Well, those things weren't really common either.
I don't remember that one.
Yeah.
Well, the PCMCIA format, you could do a whole lot with it. I mean, they had PCMCIA storage boards. You could get a modem that was a PCMCIA. You get like Ethernet cable. Basically, the entire thing was a way to expand your laptop computer to do different things.
Interesting.
It was like the precursor to USB.
Interesting. Alternate universe would probably be still using those. Also, when you guys mentioned progress bar, my monkey brain was like, and it makes it go faster.
And, only if you stare at it.
Yes,
absolutely.
And of course, there is a point in the movie where it's not copying fast enough. And hurry up! This is not copying.
Of course,
oh my god, the bad guys are coming to get me. This needs to copy. Hurry up!
Yeah. Dancing two-headed sumo fucking clip art shit.
Gotta build that tension
And it's even on like the little card itself too. The little dancing, like he's doing like a Russian dance or some shit.
I know this. This is a
Badger
Linux
shit.
system.
Yeah. Oh man.
I found him.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
The funny thing is none of the technology really makes sense in this movie, but they actually kind of lean into that.
Yeah.
Well, they
that's-
make it do
that's
impossible things, like the 3D rendering shit. It's like,
Yeah.
man, I don't know if you've seen like what was that one? I keep calling it Midsummer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they definitely had this shit in Midsummer.
No, what the fuck is it?
Was it in the Bear?
Oh, you mean Mid Journey?
Mid Journey?
Yeah.
Totally Mid Journey kind of thing.
It's like we're
And
still.
that's the other thing. I mean, Will Smith bought like a he bought some lingerie. It's in a paper bag, and a fucking Turbo Express is like a goddamn brick.
Yeah.
You
feel
would
that
have
shit in
felt
there.
that thing thud when it hit
see-
the bottom of the bag.
That's what makes me wonder what was in the robot bags. I'm a little pissed that we didn't find out what's in the fucking robot bags.
Yeah.
You could have had some really heavy shit in the robot bags, and the kids went after the lingerie. I don't want to look at our Christmas presents, but let's see what's in here in the bag with the lunch. Oh, hey, there's a video game in here. I'm going to steal this and not tell Dad about it. Like,
But by that time, it's like so much going on. You're just like, oh, okay. Like, because at this point, like the NSA guys have got Will Smith in their sights, and
that's
he's
when you raise
still,
your kids like a
completely
Scientologist. I'm sorry. Yeah, I was raised Catholic, all right? You can't.
I can't remember where they go at this point.
Presents.
You look at your presents.
Your ears.
Yeah. No,
okay?
you take.
If you see God peeking around a corner at you, you're fucked.
Well, that's why they went for the lingerie bag first, and
they're like, "Oh, this is less sinful." They don't know what it is because they've never been told.
No, because they swipe the game, but the gaming brick, and they take any edible panties that are in there. It's just licorice. They don't know. And
funny you say that.
Oh man.
You say those specific
comes up.
words, scum.
What? Excuse me?
Aren't you glad you logged in? Motherfucker, that's what you get for joining a podcast late.
I was trying to be helpful.
I'm taking my glasses off. Here we go.
Oh no!
Yeah,
man.
Are you rubbing your temples? You got to rub them
I'm
temples.
absolutely doing that right now because we're going to cut to that moment.
Oh no!
Oh man.
Well, like all this stuff goes down. The guys are after him, and they come to his fucking house, and they are like, it's
absolutely.
Barry Pepper and what the fuck come in.
They come to his
Quit
house,
claiming to be
acting
DC
like,
Metro police officers.
yeah, like
Right. And they're like, blah,
Because they
blah,
look
blah.
like
Did you meet this
cops.
guy? He's like, yeah, I already gave a statement because he watched his friend get smeared. And then he's like, well, we have another line of questioning. It's a little bit different than that. And he's just like, okay, so what? He's like, well, can we search your house? He's like, you can get a warrant. And this is the funniest line in the movie. The fucking Jamie Kennedy goes, oh, he's good. He's a fucking lawyer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, he's good. No, he's a fucking lawyer, dude.
What
Oh, my
department
God.
of the government do these assassins work for?
Well, no.
Supposedly
The tech guys are just like kind of hired, I
NSA.
guess, into this. They're
Okay.
NSA.
Yeah.
Okay.
They
Intel
have access to
analysts,
shit.
but also tech wizards, and it's like unclear how much they know that they're like involved in
Actually
actual
killing people, yeah.
espionage op, because people are dying, and they're just kind of like, yeah, man, let's get him. Like they're all
Standard
about it.
training operation.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, those are the magic words, man. You know, we're robbing a bank, Stan. We're trading operation. Oh, that'll be good.
Why do I feel that's like a precursor to like their Reaper drone program later on, where
I
it's
mean,
like
it kind of that's the way they're acting about it, and
Yeah.
again, like I said, like we were talking about it earlier, just John Voight's so smarmy in this. He's like literally playing like
such a
his
piece
best
of shit.
impression of Robert McNamara.
Yeah,
He even looks like Robert McNamara.
he does.
It
Yeah.
was a conscious choice, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a
Interesting.
John
He's-
Boyd,
he's
very
a-
good at.
Excellent villain in this.
He's always an excellent villain. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I can't think of.
Even to his daughter.
But after he stymies them a bit, then they kind of go into this thing where they start asking him about an ex-girlfriend of his who actually is the contact who got him this
Right.
video that implicated the mob guy. It's like the espionage guy that he uses, who is his ex-girlfriend is a cutout
Right.
to his identity. She knows who he is, but Will Smith has no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's Lisa Bonet.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, it's Lisa Bonet.
It fucking rules. It's like always great. She's another one who's like, great to see you.
For real.
Mhm.
fan.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Well, here's where it gets complicated, though. See, Will Smith has been married to Regina King, but had a fling with his ex-girlfriend from college, who turns out is Lisa Bonet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
they start asking about it, and he's like, "We're done."
Point. Yeah.
Well, this does kind of end up being kind of like a plot point. Where here's the funny thing. They didn't have to do this, and they still could have made him seem like they're going to start smearing Will Smith publicly.
Yeah.
And they use the fact that they're surveilling him and taking photographs of him having lunch with her. And what he's doing is he's obtaining information. He's exchanging money for a tape for this, Gambino guy and stuff.
Yeah.
But when he doesn't give them what they want, because he legit doesn't know what the fuck is going on yet, they start smearing him in the news and whatnot. And his wife's reading the headlines about this guy having an affair with this fucking woman who's involved.
I mean, she already knew. But...
They get him fired at his job.
Well, no. See, here's the thing. He specifically says, at one point in the movie, he's just problem. He's like, we're past that.
Would they really put that in the news where it's like, this lawyer fucked his ex?
No, they wouldn't. Yeah. They wouldn't just do that. But the NSA would plant a story if they're trying to I feel like it's a case of too much gun and a little bit of Streisand effect that really kicks the plot of this off.
Yes.
If they didn't fuck with him so hard, he'd just here, you can have it. I don't give a fuck.
Probably, yeah.
But
here's the thing, though.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, Regina King is
100%
against this shit from the get-go. She's the smartest character in this entire movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's like, this is. She's called. I forget who she calls out as a fascist, but she's like, this dude's a fascist.
It's that senator who keeps showing up on the TV, and you don't even get to see until the last 15 minutes of the fucking movie.
Yeah. But
on
the
TV.
The sort of funny / interesting thing about that is the NSA goons, John Voight, all of them absolutely misunderstand his relationship with Lisa Bonet.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably legit think that he's having an affair with her. He's not. She's a business contact, but he's paying her money for a service, which is to get tapes and surveillance and stuff like that. So it looks bad, but they absolutely take it in the wrong direction.
I mean, when it comes to smear campaigns, even in real life, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but they legit believe it is the thing. Which, like I said, it shows that they're not actually very good at their job.
Yeah, at this point,
they're very earnest.
He reaches out to her and sets up a meeting, and this is just a clone of the beginning of the conversation where they go to Union Square in DC. And it's just the same
it's the same scene, except
really well done.
But also really. I don't think it was well done. I thought the editing was bad.
Here's my big problem with it.
Because they have this really heavy conversation, but they're jumping back and forth between, we gotta figure out what this guy's doing, and we gotta keep tabs on him and shit.
Because Seth Green is calling the shots.
But then what if that microphone scene in the conversation, but you have Vin Scully and Chris Collinsworth doing color commentary?
Yeah,
that's what this
pretty much. Yeah, I mean I hated that because it's like this. They're having this really heavy emotional conversation, and you could have done this. You could have done it in a way that was effective, where you cut between, the people who are surveilling them and this really heavy conversation. I couldn't be emotionally invested in what they were talking about.
Well, there's that, but there's also the fact that, you know why it worked in the conversation and didn't work here? They weren't competent. In the conversation, they only had 5 mics running, I think, or 3 audio sources. They had on the ground, but the other couple of stuff, whatever. He probably spliced some of it together, but they had line of sight. They were able to get it, and if they couldn't, someone nearby would. They had redundancy set up. Here, you have these assholes just sitting on the edge of a building in dark clothing in front of white concrete, just out in the open. And then there's Jack Black sitting on a fucking bench and all this other stuff. And there's this one time toward the end of their convo where they go there's a tree. And it's you expect me to believe that from 1974 until 1998, you don't have a fucking directional mic that can just not sound like garbage. If you're pointing it at a leafless tree in the fall, what are you doing?
No. This is Christmas. It's technically a Christmas movie,
right? This is a Christmas
movie in the way that Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
This is more so.
This is where they bring up the name Brill, and like the feds are all, I guess then it's whatever. They're all happy because they got another name. Who did you say? Is it Bill? Is it Brill? What are they talking about?
Yeah.
What's his name?
Brill.
That's a terrible name for a character.
Yeah.
Well,
that's his
Brill.
nickname.
The reason is it's a callback to a character that he did in an older movie when he was playing a cop.
Yeah, it was like 60 something. He was
68.
the one with Jim Brown.
I can't remember if we talked about it earlier. If it was the first time we tried to record it.
Same here. That's why I didn't want to get too much into it.
Wow.
We did talk about
Jim Brown made, I think it was like 4.3 average yards per carry or something insane.
Yeah.
Fucking absolute.
He was one of the best in the game ever.
Met him once.
Yeah.
He was in town doing a speech about. Well, it was. Let's just say I didn't win the convo. It was nice to meet him because it was like, oh fuck, Jim Brown, and he's huge, massive dude, right?
Oh, yeah.
I was working as a bartender at this hotel, and he comes in and stuff, and I was like, hey, can I get you a drink? And he's like, oh, I don't drink, because he was on that, tip. Yeah. And at the same time, James Brown was playing in Youngstown. And they were both staying in the hotel. And intrusive thoughts made me say, family reunion?
Okay. God damn it.
If you want to go one,
I got a chuckle. I'm not mad about it.
And if you want to go one level deeper, you had Jim Brown, you had James Brown, and Jim Brown played for the Browns.
Wow. No, that's who I'm talking about. I said that to Jim Brown. He's a great guy, man. I'm a local guy. But it was that was like back in that era of, your kind of Shaft era of film. Ernest Borgnine was in the movie. Love that guy. We'll be talking about him again before the end of the year.
But at this point, they set up. There's going to be a meeting with Brill. She lets him know, like, I put a chalk mark on the mailbox by my house, and we meet at this ferry at this time.
And that was probably the coolest. Like
that was some great spycraft there.
That's actually spycraft. I think that's the only actual.
Because up to now, he doesn't know who Brill is. He knows the name because Lisa Bonet's character has mentioned it. He wants to meet Brill, but she is like shutting that down hardcore. It's like, you're not meeting Brill. Yeah. I mean, if you want, you can fire me, but you're not fucking meeting Brill.
Right. I have like a rep.
Yeah.
So he's like the movie's Deep Throat.
You'll see.
Kinda, yeah.
He's more like the movie's Harry Call.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kinda, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Harry Call after the end of the conversation because he's paranoid as fuck.
Gotcha.
Except he's totally Harry Call.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, everything but name.
You could have
Brill is code name.
Well, later,
backstory.
Later he goes into his backstory.
Yeah.
Right.
There's just like a couple of inconsistencies.
Well, I was trying to line up. Like, okay, so if he's Harry Call in 1974 in San Francisco, and then he gets out of the CIA in 1980 in Iran, I'm thinking, like, how many years is that? Could he have transferred over to the agency? And like, sure, yeah, absolutely, he could have done it. Sure.
Mm-hmm. But here's the thing: he said that his military, when he was in the military, it was in the 60s.
Yeah.
So that makes me think that he was like trained in the stuff. Now, when was he on the East Coast and he got the audio for the murder and the conversation? See, we can do this. I purposefully did not do this.
It's one of those things that it may not line up perfectly, but it's close enough.
It's one of those things where it super resonates as a spiritual successor.
Especially when you consider that given his career, everything he tells you could be a lie.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. He's giving one of the false story.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if he was in the shit, like when they do the research and they find his name, they use a photograph of him from the conversation first.
That's pretty cool.
And second of all, my favorite thing about it is they're looking at this name, and the thought that occurred to me in this moment was, oh, he got him. Because that's not his name. Brill isn't his name. None of this. He put that in there.
Yeah.
This motherfucker was like, later in the film, you'll see him installing shit he wants people to find, which means there are ones they did not find. You know, like this.
Yeah, Jack
this
Black
dude
specifically brings it up.
And, you know, he was the guy that did that amazing, you know, opening shot of the conversation. Like this guy thinks that way. And with access to new data, new fucking tools, can you imagine what he's been doing this whole time?
Yeah.
Just living in a hole, slowly going insane.
Oh, yeah. Actually,
you should see his workshop.
And his workshop is it's
literally
Yeah, it's the fucking warehouse from.
It's basically the same warehouse from the conversation, but he lives in a Faraday cage. It's pretty.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's
awesome.
the logical evolution of it. You know what I mean? Like
Air gaps.
Now they fucked that up a little bit because he talks about how like nothing get in, nothing get out, and he's like, "No, I'm going to look up the fucking military database," and I'm like, "Well, how?"
Yeah.
Well, I would assume he's got Ethernet.
Well, that comes up later. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But this is another neat part where he's trying to make contact with Brill, but the NSA set him up with a fake Brill who finds him. And
Gabriel Byrne in one of my favorite cameos.
Five minutes, if that.
Shit. Three.
Yeah, I wouldn't believe that. 3. I would believe 2.5. It's like shit. It's Gabriel Byrne. Shit, was Gabriel Byrne.
Yeah.
What if now divide 3 minutes by 2.5 seconds, and I'll tell you how many shots that is. It's like 120 per minute. No,
yes,
not quite. 90. We're talking 270 shots.
Well, and right after he meets Gabriel Byrne, we get into a car chase.
Goddamn, it's so good. This is my favorite part of the movie.
Okay,
because you don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
So what level of car chase?
Just one quick second, because
very quick.
The neat part about this is the fake Brill finds a bug that was in his shoe because at this point the NSA has ransacked his whole house, made it look like a burglary, bugged all of his shit, and also stole his juicer. Which is just a blender, really, and it reminded me that in the late 90s it was like a massive juicer craze, and and in the early 2000s it was the cold pressed juice, and it's just like a little detail that, like, if he's a lawyer in Washington D.C. in the 90s, he's definitely on a juicer craze.
Yeah, at the beginning when he comes home, like the first thing he does is say hello to his nanny, kisses his wife, and dumps a bunch of fruit into a blender.
Has a juice.
They set it up.
Juice.
So that's his real motivation. That's a real motivation for the movie, is revenge against.
One of them.
You would think
it really is. It really is one of his motivations.
You would think that the PCMCIA thing with the video on it that's stuck in the back of a TurboGrafx Express is the MacGuffin. No, it's the blender.
It's the fucking blender.
It's the fucking blender.
He stole his blender, and now it's fucking personal.
It literally is.
When they did that.
It's all John Wick about his fucking juicer.
He brings it up like after the burglary has happened and before his life starts to get ruined. He's out like I think he's like rowing on one of the rivers. Yeah, on the Potomac with his friend, and explained to him that they took all of my suits, they took that, and motherfuckers took my blender. And he's like pissed about the blender more than anything.
More than anything else.
Well, it's because
that was a violation. That's the violation.
They didn't take anything else. They just trashed his house.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but they took my fucking blender. And I would be like, you know what? Yeah, that does feel like kind of like a needle.
Well, yeah, it's
a little diss. It's like if you like came into my house and you stole like my one little Gundam figurine that I keep on my desk.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh, I'm going to hunt you down. You make your ancestors feel this.
So, how is this chase scene? Because
fantastic.
Well, okay,
all the chases in this movie are fucking funny.
The real quick before we even get to the chase scene, there's a scene while he's out on the Potomac with his friend rowing, and the goon squad is bugging everything that he fucking owns. They break into his locker.
I do like this bit where they're
which is like secured with a master lock. Yeah, it's secured with a master lock combination lock with a key on the back. If you ever watch the Lock Picking Lawyer on YouTube, you know that this thing can be opened with chewing gum and a hard sneeze. So they open that up. They literally bug everything. But the one thing that, once again, a callback to the conversation, they call attention to the fact that he is using a specific kind of fountain pen.
Yep.
And we're going to give him the same kind of fountain pen that also has the bug in it.
See, that's the thing. They identify his wristwatch, his cufflinks, like all of this shit, and then they just swap out with replicas that are bugged.
Everything is a bug.
Like, they don't even bug his shit. They have copies of his shit.
It's some James Bond shit.
Somehow.
Yeah. It's great. Well, no, they probably have a fucking room full of fucking fakes.
Yeah.
But that's what they want you to think. And I'm telling you right now, they don't have that kind of room. They barely had the room for that giant fucking cheese, back in the day.
And in some cases, it actually gives to some like realism to the thing that they have someone on the team that is a fucking pin nerd.
Yeah.
And just from looking at a video, it's like, oh no, that is this specific kind of fountain pen that he is using.
That's what it was. It was. He says, "Is that a thing?" And he's like, "No, it's a Mont Blanc." And I was like,
yeah,
that's clearly that's bugged.
Nice.
Yeah,
it's good. They it's for homage as a person who hates being pandered to by cinema. Sometimes
some of it wasn't.
Sometimes you need this.
Some of it wasn't in your face. Some of it was very much just the smile and the wink.
it does enough of that it doesn't piss me off.
And
I do love. Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that this is where like the Oppo team, the bad guys, are actually just like one character because their scenes are cut so well in between. They're all communicating over the radio lines, and
they don't have the same haircut. It's like
it's just really well done because and it was well worth the tropiness of an exposition of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%. But and yet they keep not catching his ass. Like this is fucking. So wait, which chase are we at now?
So it's fake grill. He's with the fake grill and the cap.
One of the things that I love is that Gabriel Byrne's character as the fake Brill is, scans him with like a bug detector, which may or may not be a legit thing because he's a plant anyway, and like finds a bug in his shoe and just takes it out and says, "Hey, this is how they're tracking you. There's a bug in your shoe," and they flushes it down the toilet. The other shoe is bugged too,
right?
So they're willing to burn this just for the story. It's perfect. I mean, that makes plenty of sense.
Yeah, and they go into he's like, there is no Brill. The real Brill is buried in a cornfield in Iowa. He died at birth or something like that. It's just like pop, 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 and you're like, you really like him. And you realize, oh wait, he's just a total fucking plant.
And Gabriel Byrne was like a quantity at the time. Like people knew who he was. So when he shows
Gabriel
up in the
Byrne's
movie, you don't think
awesome.
you're going to burn him.
Yeah.
Fucking burn him so fast. It's insane.
It's
like
gone in like 5, like you said, 2.5 minutes. He's gone. You never see him again.
Yeah, it's incredible. Well, here we are at 55 odd minutes into the movie, introduced to the actual Brew, and you don't know it yet because they're trying to get away in this car and fucking they're getting chased by this like big old fucking Bronco, and it's like ramming them and shit. And all you see is this cut to the like Gene Hackman's meanest mean mug ever. It's so fucking good. He's just like. Murr. And it reminded me of The French Connection because he did his own driving in that movie, and they fucked with him in that movie. Yeah. They did really fun stuff. Like there's a scene in The French Connection where he's driving under an L, and they throw a fucking baby carriage in front of him.
Yep.
And he hits it.
Yeah.
And it turns out it was just like a homeless dude full of stuff. But the way he reacts is real. He didn't know that was going to happen. And this feels like they were hoping for that, and they don't really give him. He's older. He's not going to do his own stunt driving and shit. But they let him ram fucking Gabriel Byrne. I feel like that happened.
Yeah. Because Gabriel Byrne's driving a cab. And didn't
right. I did like that detail too. I thought that was pretty cool.
And Will Smith is in the back, and they're like, talking to each other.
He specifically is like, get in the back,
act like your
passenger. Yeah.
Because cabbies always pick up their passengers in a public men's restroom at a park.
Absolutely.
Who amongst us?
Yeah. And just like you said, with the baby carriage, in this case, it's like a dude in a wheelchair, like an electric wheelchair, just like wheels out in the street, and Gabriel Byrne has to like slam on the brakes, and that causes the rig behind him to hit him and shove him out into the street and all of that. So
yeah.
Great sequence. I really enjoyed that bit. And then then Gene Hackman just takes over the fucking movie.
Yeah, when Gene Hackman drives by when he drives by and looks at the accident scene, it's like that Luigi meme, where Luigi's in the cart and he drives by and he just gives you the look of death. Gene Hackman has this look on his face like, I had 500 other things I needed to do this afternoon, and I'm chasing your ass.
Yeah.
He is pissed.
It's fantastic face acting. Like, fuck
and
you.
Those yellowish sunglasses? I don't even know if it was sunglasses. They're just like yellowish old man glasses. That makes sense too. I mean,
of yellow lens glasses. Yeah. Which was
a thing back in the late 90s. They had those blue blocker commercials.
I had a pair of yellow lens glasses back in the 90s. Absolutely.
Heads up, listener, just to give us a second, we're a little behind the stage. I'm getting an alert. It's saying I'm having a problem with Shadow Link. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to just stop this. I know, but I'm getting the alerts on this end. What we're going to do is I'm just going to stop this recording, and then we're just going to pick up with the conversation. I'm going to start a new recording. I'm sorry.
Like the last movie about the enemy of the state?
It just keeps saying alert with. And here's the thing: if we keep talking, we're going to risk losing all your shit, and then I can't use it.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm going to do that right now. Okay. Fucking what the fuck? Anyway,
one of the grand traditions of today's podcasting culture is complaining about Zencaster.
Yep.
So
yeah.
No,
Hey,
man, it goes
understand.
bigger than
Do we even have to
Zencaster.
explain it to you guys anymore? Like,
It's
it,
much bigger than that. It's the NSA, man. They're trying to fuck us.
absolutely.
we've had
Yes.
this is our
Oh, man.
third recording. We're going to be using 2 of them because the first one, was, like
Well, 2 so
basically
far.
zeroed
2
just
so far.
through a portal and then brought scum back with them, and we couldn't just throw him in here. He hasn't seen the movie anyway. Who gives a shit? So fucking
It's only 10 p.m. The night is young.
Hashtag fuck Zentak.
And just to make it extra fun, we're gonna mix all the channels up just like a William S. Burroughs novel.
that's good.
Play it
Brian
back for you.
Geison's cut up method right here. The editing.
You got it.
I get to play the part of the drug dispensing typewriter.
Yeah, it's
Hell yeah.
naked brunch.
Put some on my lips. Burgess Meredith's finest hour. Anyway, where were we? Gene Hackman shows up.
Gene
He
Hackman
is
finally
all
shows up. By the way,
business.
listener, we are 2/3 into the movie, and Gene Hackman, the second build character,
Yeah.
has finally
Finally
arrived.
fucking shows up.
And he shows up in the most grand form.
Right. Car trays takes.
Well, I'm not even talking about that.
Punch
I'm talking where, Will Smith runs out of the taxi and he, runs to a payphone and he's standing there and Gene Hackman just kind of walks up and leans on a column and looks over and just mouths, "Found you."
Yep.
It's like, oh, you fucking boss.
He's amazing.
He's just, oh my God. It's
He
the
is
best.
the best part of this movie, I think.
And now this. Okay, which chase is this? What does he do at this point? Does he just start
Well,
taking off?
they have to start running off because they're being chased by the goon squad, but only
Right.
Gene Hackman knows what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And he starts scanning him for all the other bugs that are
Yeah.
on him.
Yeah.
And
Now,
he
are
also
they at the
brings-
elevator at this point?
Yes, but he also brings up, this fake Brill that you just talked to. Did you bring up my name,
Right.
or did he bring up my name? And this is very important to him because he wants to know if the NSA knows who he is or if Will Smith knows who he is.
Right.
So yeah.
So wait, what happens to Gabriel Byrne?
Oh, he's gone. He's done.
Yeah.
He's not
He
dead.
He just runs off.
Yeah. No. Will Smith got away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So they're just like, you're not in the film anymore.
Yeah. No. This is Sir not appearing in the rest
Right,
of the
because
film.
Gotcha.
he turned the gun on.
Gabriel
on Will
Byrne
Smith,
was
right?
in. He was in the DC for the weekend.
Yeah.
Oh, so we just got a hot dog or something.
Probably.
Well, he turned the gun on Will Smith, right?
Yeah, he pulled the gun on him.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
And he manages to get him to disarm him through the taxi window.
Yeah.
slot.
Slams the window on his arm. Or something.
Yeah, Will Smith is extremely competent when he needs to be for the plot. Otherwise, not so much.
Well, and if you want to start talking about plot holes and stuff, Will Smith was just in a car where a gun went off and he can go make a phone call.
Right.
Yeah.
No, he can't. No, he can't.
And this isn't even
Don't
the
they-
first time. No, this is the only time that happens in this movie. I mean,
How many
we'll get to
times do
that.
they use the line like you're either very smart or very stupid?
Yes,
like 3 times.
Yeah.
it is a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad theme. I mean, Will Smith's character throughout the movie is sometimes incredibly smart and sometimes incredibly stupid.
I'm going to
there's
put
one-
that one on Sorkin.
There's one of the bits where, the real Brill is given. He's like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do A, B, and then C. Did you get all that? And he's like, no.
Same, dude. Same.
Tell me again.
Same.
Yeah.
I feel that.
Well, all the exposition in this is very much techno babble that sounds almost legitimate.
That
Yeah,
sounds like fun.
almost.
It's very Star Trekky in that you get what they're saying.
Yeah.
It still gets the point across, and because they're showing you a lot of it, but they're also telling you what it is. It's an over. This is an ADHD movie.
Oh, it really is. Yeah.
Oh God, yes, it is.
And so there is a point where they're running away from the goon
The
squad.
pacing, guys. The pacing is so bad.
The pacing is just boom, boom, boom. I mean,
They never give you
Well,
a
here's the
moment to breathe.
What you got to understand is, well, good. See, I want that in an action movie.
Sure.
But at the same time, I like something like, say, in Godzilla -1, Godzilla shows up, it's a big deal. He goes away, you're relieved.
mhm.
Like, you actually feel something with it. This movie is the closest thing that I've ever seen to, an algorithmic, structure. Because, within the first 10 minutes, I think 10 or 15 minutes, Jason Lee's dead.
Yeah.
And then the movie starts moving. And the only time
I'd
it
say
stops
first
is
30 minutes.
No, he dies pretty fucking quick. Because, dude
Yeah.
leaves the office and is buying bras,
Yeah.
right next. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the bus hits him, and that's your big opening scene. And frankly, that's one of the moments I sat there and I was just like, you know what? That absolutely works better than the opening scene of Swordfish.
Uh-huh.
Because
But-
that's
oh,
the
man.
best scene of
That's
Swordfish.
another
and
thing.
The rest of the movie
And-
isn't as good. You know,
and
this, on
being
the
that
other
it's-
hand, builds up.
Yeah. And being that it's Jason Lee, I mean, at that time, especially in that, moment in cinema, you kind of expect this dude to have a part.
Right.
Yeah, again.
And he does not have a part. He's got
does a
off another
good job
character
of-
you thought was going to be there.
Yeah.
Some really good casting misdirection in this. But that's the other
Exactly.
thing about this, too. Gene Hackman actually shows up at the halfway mark.
Yeah.
Like right at 55 minutes or so.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow, now we still have the other half of this movie.
Uh-huh.
You know, we got to build
And
up
shit
to
just got serious.
got to build up to Larry King's final line.
But one of the things I loved about the Hackman's reveal, about his entrance into the movie is like where he's got Will Smith on the floor of an elevator with a gun in his face, and he's stripping the bugs off of him and putting them into a foil-lined potato chip bag.
Specifically, Utz.
So
Yes.
cool.
They're
He just
Utz
what is
potato
that?
chips.
a
Their
potato
logo.
chip bag.
Yeah, he rips
I
into
never
the
saw
his
potato chip
mouth.
bag and just dumps it out
Is
over
that
Will
real?
Smith.
Is that
Monstrous.
real foil though?
Oh,
Is
it's
that real
foil.
Yeah,
Because
it's foil. I mean, in a
I always
pinch,
thought
it
that was
will
just
do.
like plastic.
Yeah. I mean, in a pinch, it will do because if it's a foil line bag in an elevator, in a concrete tunnel that is the elevator shaft, I mean,
And you're stopped.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
All
they
right, so-
have a graphic at the tech headquarters that's just like collar, shoes.
Yeah.
phone.
Yeah,
Phone.
very helpful GUI. A very
Yeah.
helpful
Yeah.
GUI on the bug tracker.
Is that like a program someone wrote? Like
It probably is.
I
It
wanna-
probably is.
But it looks like it's like, oh, we're
Fuck, I
losing,
hope you got
we're losing
paid.
that, we're losing the belt, we're losing the collar.
Yeah.
Oh
I'm
no,
using it.
we're losing the shoe.
I'm going to use a bit of that image in the for this. Like,
Well, I want to back up real quick too. The whole bit with like Jason Lee's death, and then Will Smith goes home, and he's like acting like everything is normal.
well, not real. Like, here's the thing.
Kind of.
It's
It doesn't seem like beat up that like his buddy from college, like
Well,
he
he talks to
literally
his wife about it.
smeared onto the highway.
Yeah.
he talks about it, but he hasn't seen the guy in so fucking long, and like it would be one of those. I thought about
You're
this.
still
I'm
going to
like,
be traumatized if you see anybody, just like reduced to a smear on the pavement. Okay,
this makes me think it's not the first time.
yeah.
And given
My
that
man
he
lives in
obviously has a
DC.
history- yeah, he's got a history with the mob too. I bet he
Fair.
might have seen
Fair.
some shit.
Yeah,
But-
DC's unhealthy
no.
for bicyclists. Always has been.
Oh God, I wouldn't drive a car in DC, let alone ride a fucking bike.
They got trains,
Christ.
so you have no reason to be driving in this fucking city. I
every
don't
time I go to
understand how
DC,
he
I
gets
walk.
anywhere in any amount of time. How is there a car chase
Yeah, exactly.
at all? How's there traffic?
Yeah, one of
The
the
car
bigger,
chase at top speeds of 25, maybe 27 miles an hour.
one of the bigger unbelievable things is all the car chases in the
Yeah.
open.
That's the-
fairly
there
open
they
It's in
are.
these very, very industrial areas.
Well, the
DC,
one car chase in
apparently.
the one tiled tunnel is, I think, near the
Oh
Kennedy
yeah,
Center.
yeah. They really like using the First Street Tunnel in this. The
Yes,
Blade Runner
they
tunnel.
did.
They used it
Oh,
twice.
is that the one that's by the Kennedy Center?
I think so. Yeah, the one that's like all white and shiny on the inside.
Yeah, I
Reclaimed.
think that's
Yeah,
by the Kennedy
yeah.
Center.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, though we should keep in mind
could
that
be
this is a cover up in progress. I mean, the entire reason that they're doing this is because someone has evidence that this NSA goon has
Really
murdered
bad.
a fucking senator.
Really bad.
So you know what we need to do
Cover
is
up.
we need to fly a helicopter
Mm-hmm.
at low levels through a major city, and that major city should be the nation's capital. I'm sure
Right.
no one's going to have a
Nobody's gonna
problem
notice
with that.
Nobody's gonna find that.
Yeah, I mean, happens all the time. I'm sure. I
Okay,
mean,
okay.
Zero, you've seen this. I mean, this happened last Thursday,
Well,
right?
yeah, you are aware. Yeah, there are a lot of low flying helos.
It's nonstop, bud.
Yeah.
I mean, shaking the house.
I mean, for
Yeah.
being honest, the last time was during the BLM protests in DC when they decided to use Afghanistani crowd suppression tactics on protesters in DC. But hey, that's just,
Well, here's the thing. No, my point
history.
is you could totally fucking have a goddamn car chase in DC and no one would notice because it's just like there's constant sirens. There's constant fucking
exactly.
air traffic. Like it's the problem is they look really staged a little bit. Like the foot chases with cars involved, he wouldn't have made it. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know how to break this to anyone. Will Smith.
Yeah, you can't.
would
I know it's a
perish.
shitty Bronco, but you still can't outrun a Bronco.
No, even
Especially if you're Gene Hackman and you're like, I don't know, 60 something.
following the traffic rules.
Yeah.
Like, no, none of that's happening.
I like
It's
how DC's for this movie. DC is the end of suspension of disbelief.
well,
just
they didn't
because we
film
know
all of it
too
there.
much.
Like they didn't film all of it there.
There's a good bit in Baltimore too.
Yes, there is a good bit in Baltimore. Like Hackman's lab is in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's an old Dr. Pepper
See, that would make more sense for what you guys are describing if this whole movie just took place in Baltimore.
Yeah,
But no,
It would make
has to
more
be at
sense.
Yeah, the NSA did not.
it looks a lot more like Baltimore.
The NSA did not cooperate in the filming of this.
Yeah, I
So
fucking bet.
This
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
this is kind of points in favor of this goofy ass movie for me because at one point when they're doing one of the establishing shots, they show like NSA headquarters. But here's the thing: they weren't allowed to film it. So what they did was they got a fucking plane or a helicopter and they went into. Filed a flight plan, went into the
Public
private
air.
public air space, got a zoom lens, like a fuck you zoom lens,
Yeah.
and got this shot. And then they do that thing where they you like pull a frame from like the film, so you skip frames, and they basically sped it up a little bit to make it look like they're doing a really fast turn, but they probably flew like 3 miles in an arc
And you knew
just
the
to get
camera
the shot.
and you
I'm
knew
like,
the camera
oh,
person
man.
is just
You
like
know, let me-
filming it, and he's
this
like,
is-
"You like
let me
that
be
shit,
real.
huh? You like how this feels?"
I knew they had to film it from public air, but I don't know how they did it. The reason why I'm speculating that is because of a fucking chase later.
Yeah.
There's something they did that is batshit to me.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck were you? Why did you need this shot? Like,
At that point, I have a feeling this is the director saying, well, fuck you, I'm going to do it anyway.
and it
Yeah.
worked. So okay, so he's still like, how long does this chase go? Has he switched clothes yet? Is this that one?
He has not
No, he
quite
gets him up
switched
on the roof
clothes
and
yet.
he's talking to him a little bit more.
Right.
Right.
This is where they have like a lot of exposition back at HQ where he's like, oh, the guy's smart, he's not looking up. And the ops guy's like, oh, you just got to look up for you to see his face. And they're like, yeah, idiot.
The satellite's
camera's
pointing down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the satellites point down. Now, never mind that the surveillance cameras in the
Why would
lingerie
he
store
look up?
point like at a 45-degree angle. We can
Yeah.
still
Have,
not
like,
fuck her around. I mean,
Yeah.
It has like holographic mid-journey rendering
Yeah.
capabilities.
stupid.
Oh,
but,
man.
yeah.
Keyhole satellites have nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like a tape recorder in space.
What if
right?
Hubble but 180?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, he goes to like this hotel, right? Well, I mean, I guess he starts out in a hotel, and that's another thing I wanted to bring up. This is a cool gadget that they use a couple times, like on both sides. They use this little like it
Lockpick
looks
drill thing.
Lockpick drill
they
thing.
use
Yeah.
they use that, but they also
Yeah.
use this little card that has
Oh,
like
yeah, the card-
ribbon
the card
cable
hacking,
attached
yeah.
to it, and it,
Which
it
is-
looks like a standard like
A pin runner
hotel key
Yeah.
card
from
but-
Like
it looks
John
like a pin runner
Connor.
from John
Oh
Connor.
yeah, no, you could
Yeah.
you could 100% just as someone who worked in a hotel, you could 100% just break into rooms if you have, because all it is magnets. The car technology hasn't changed since apparently 1998. So as long as your card is magnetized the correct way, because that's the machine we use. Like the cards are all blank; they're just plastic. But you put them in the machine, it gives them the magnetism. You
Right.
can totally just fake that if you know how.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's got a little LED readout.
Yeah. Little ribbon
That's-
cable attached to it. It's cool. It's cool looking.
Yeah.
It's one of the like. Well, here's the problem with this movie. I'm trying to get screenshots together for this motherfucker for the press. The little release we do for these things, and I'm like, any one of these images I took, I could put them in front of somebody and be like, when did this happen in the movie? And you wouldn't fucking know because everything kind of has the same filter over it. It's that
Yeah.
era.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Oh.
it does the blue. Is it a blue
The
filter or a
blue
green
filter.
filter?
Oh, it's
A little
definitely,
bit of a blue
it's definitely
wash.
got the blue filter.
Oh.
We don't go to Mexico, so you don't get a yellow filter.
No, no.
Ah, tell me it's 1998 without telling me it's 1998.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely got a blue filter.
When you get to Baltimore, it's like a white kind of like
Yeah,
cloud
it does
filter.
get a new filter. Yeah.
It's interesting, but I get this whole thing is just. Here's this gadget. You never look at it for more than like a second.
Yeah.
Without it like moving angle.
Mhm.
It's or like somebody's holding the camera, and that
Why do
person
I
is
feel
on their
that's like-
fifth coffee without breakfast.
Why do I feel that's like a Sorkin thing? Because every time you mention this kind of like quick cuts,
No, this
it's like
isn't.
It reminds me of like the walk and talk, the idea of motion while doing
and he stole that from ER, and there is that. But imagine that, like the speech Tom Sizemore gives at the end of Strange Days, where it's just like it's like 3 different angles, and they just keep cutting, and he delivers this like 5-minute monologue. The Sorkinism kind of comes through some of the writing, and I can't be sure of which it is, but sometimes you get that little like lilt in it where you're like, that's him. Yeah, it just feels right. The editing is someone who has had all of the Halloween candy.
Oh,
I mean, I was insane. It's hard to like. It was hard for me to watch the second time. I had to look at my phone for a lot of it and just kind of listen to it the way I used to watch Supernatural. Just put it on in the background, and not really pay attention to it. Then it works.
Not draw you in.
There really was an era.
An assault.
Yeah. There really were,
and that's what I'm saying about the pacing is that it never like it's always just going to something different, and it's just
you are not given a minute to breathe. The scene changes. I was just looking up Tony Scott's. Tom Scott is a totally different guy. I was looking up Tony Scott's other work because I like the way the cutting happens, the way the editing style is. Reminds me of music videos.
Yes,
very much. Absolutely.
But this dude has only done 3 music videos. So he's done some, but that's not a lot. He did Danger Zone with Kenny Loggins.
Of course.
One More Try, George Michael, and he shot the love scene in Father Figure. But that's it.
Interesting. Well,
so, he
this
did
is an interesting thing.
Yeah.
He had a relationship with one of my favorite music groups, The Hybrid.
Shit.
On one of their albums, there was a song they did called Dream Stalker, and it was like not until like featuring Tony Scott. He does like a spoken word bit on it. And I was like, holy fuck. And I don't know where they've worked together, but I'm pretty sure they collaborated like maybe a song for Man on Fire or something like that. Like I'm sure they've worked together on something.
Cool.
That checks out.
Yeah.
That sounds right.
That gives Tony Scott points in my book. Oh, and he passed not that long ago.
Oh, fuck.
Tragically.
Yeah. He committed suicide.
Oh shit.
I just realized that we totally skipped over the part where he found his ex-girlfriend murdered.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
We haven't actually gotten there.
Well, yeah, I don't think
scary thing.
No, because that happened before he meets Brill, because Brill says, is she okay? And then like...
Well, he's already met Brill at that point, but Brill doesn't know that she's dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Later on in the movie, he goes down the street where she lives. He sees their surveillance van and makes a phone call to report them to the police that he thinks they're selling drugs.
Right. Yeah. Good move.
And then he marks the mailbox like she does, except he uses like a black marker instead of a white chalk thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then breaks into her house, and that's when he finds her dead. Brill does not know she's dead yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they set it up to make it look like Will Smith is,
Well, yeah, because there's a scene. I mean, going back to the stupid hotel after they have this, conversation on the roof, and the helicopter is flying through the middle of Baltimore and D.C. at low levels and not calling any attention whatsoever to itself. Brill tells him, "You've got other bugs on you. Get rid of your clothes. I'll be surprised if you live to the end of the day."
Yeah.
And so he
that line is hard.
Yeah, and then he gets down into the hotel, manages to sort of work his way into this Asian couple's hotel room. He picks up a fax that's on the floor for them. It was something
they think that he's like a male stripper or something.
Yeah, because he starts taking off his clothes.
I'm the third.
Yeah, and
I have a lot of thoughts
did not
that
put
I
that
cannot
together
articulate.
Because it's a Chinese.
Funnier than it already is.
Yeah, it's a Chinese couple, and the wife is 100% into this.
Nice. So
until the men with guns and the little card reader.
That's a mood killer, no matter what happens.
That was good.
He puts on a robe and he's like,
another really good chase.
Okay.
Everything was fine until the white guys showed up.
Fair enough.
This chase is incredible.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Will Smith strips down to his skivvies and then jumps out the window.
Puts on a bathrobe.
Well, he's out the window and crawling down balconies before he ever gets the bathrobe.
I think that's right. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, he gets into another room.
He's just in his fucking boxers, isn't he?
Yeah, boxers and a wife beater t-shirt. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy stunt. Like, it's
and he's
from a
doing
distance.
it. Most of the stunts that Will Smith you see doing is Will Smith doing the stunts.
Yeah, he's like jumping down and across.
Yeah. He's like doing Jackie Chan level shit.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
This chase.
I can see why they would have gotten Tom Cruise for this. Why they wanted Tom Cruise.
Oh
for
yeah,
this.
yeah. I think they won. You know, I think they did fine.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a hoot in this.
He did good. Got to give credit where credit's due. He did good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he he gets a bathrobe, and he manages to escape like 3 times. I mean, he escapes the hotel, then he escapes a chase through the tunnel, then he escapes a chase. Yeah.
We need to talk about the tunnel.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So
the tunnel's beautiful.
In the trivia. So the storm drain, this is taking this from IMDb here. The storm drain car chase scene was shot in a large air duct tunnel below the 4 main bores of the Fort McHenry Road Tunnel in Baltimore. Fort McHenry permits I-95 to pass under Baltimore's harbor. This is underwater.
Yeah.
So now this is the fucked up part. This is the Tony Scott being like, no, we're going to fucking Fitzcarraldo this. The air duct is only accessible via the tunnel's administration building by stairs and a small elevator. So the cars in the scene were chopped into several sections, taken 3 levels below, reassembled, and painted.
What?
Wow.
Once filming was complete, they were disassembled over again and removed from the fucking
So you
duct.
can't get vehicles in there.
Painstaking.
That's insane.
This is why I could never be a film director. I would never even think to do that.
So you just
What the fuck are you asking your dude to do for you?
So
You're asking you to take these 3 cars apart.
Yeah. Bring them.
Is this the safe? And here's what's fucked up. That probably is the safest place for them to film that.
Yeah. So you can't bring vehicles there. So all they do is chop them up, bring them into a office building, up an elevator, through a shaft.
They had like 40 underpaid interns carry like a fender at a time.
Yeah.
Down.
So this tunnel doesn't connect to like a road.
No,
it's under the harbor.
It's like underground.
It's underwater.
That's awesome.
It's fucking incredible.
You get 106 hardcore points for that.
Yeah, you get bonus points for that. Because you look at it, it's just a dude running in his socks in a shallowly watered sewer, and then this car turns around and 2 of them are coming at him and they're bumping into each other, and because the cars are probably just like, just fuck this shit in here. Let's just fucking throw it together, dog.
Yeah, they're being held together with like bolts and duct tape.
Whatever you do not get a side view of the car in the camera shot.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I read that detail, and then on the second viewing of this thing, I noticed one of the hoods is not painted. It's chrome. It's like shiny. I was like, fuck. That guy was like, I'm fucking clocking out.
I got somewhere to be.
And everything's shot like very shadowy in there and stuff. And that's the one where he climbs up the access tunnel, right?
Yeah.
To get onto the street.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's I don't think that's where it goes either. I think they just lit it to make it look like he was climbing up there. But that turns into a really funny sequence.
Yeah.
With like he gets up and he starts running and he comes upon the guy with the hose. Yeah. And they keep doing this like whack-a-mole thing with semi-trucks where they're almost about to get hit by truck after truck. And I'm just like, I enjoy this. I like this as a time.
Right. Yeah.
This is tight. This is a little bit more DC.
Yeah, this is where they're like chasing him through the alleyways too,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
All that, yeah. Well,
yeah, that was I did like that. That was a good chase scene.
Yeah, no, that whole foot chase is better than most.
Mm-hmm.
And then he holds like a fucking sanitation worker, construction worker, something hostage. He's like, normally I don't do this.
Yeah, he's apologizing for.
How do you hold him
hostage?
Oh, well,
he pulls a gun. Well, he's had a gun. He's been running his gun like the whole time.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And the gun he got off of the fake Brill.
Yeah.
Where was he keeping it? His boxer shorts?
No, he kept that shit. I don't know how he climbed with it because there's a couple of scenes in here where I'm like, okay, how did the cat get into the fucking Faraday cage?
You've just told me about like him having to like disturb Morlocks to film this one scene, and like
I don't know how. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? It's one of those like blink and you miss it, and that's why every shot is 2.4 seconds long.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But when the bad guys catch up to the construction worker guy, they just see this guy like bent over with a bathrobe on with his hood.
Yeah, is it? Yeah.
And they're like, oh,
he just looks so sad
for us. Yeah,
he's
like,
so
clearly,
sad.
And they pull a gun on him, and it's like, oh, it's the other guy.
Yeah.
It's a different black guy.
He didn't give himself up. And then Will Smith goes and he meets with his wife. And by now, she's seen headlines about him cheating on her and all this other stuff because they're trying to smear him to get him to give him this like tape back that he's. I don't even know if he knows he has it yet.
Well, didn't she already know this? And then like they kind of, she kind of like puts him in the doghouse.
He had an affair 4 years ago, but he lied about the fact that he hadn't seen her because he didn't tell her she was the contact.
Yeah.
So with all of these photos coming out, it's like, well, you're still seeing her. You're lying to me, you piece of shit. And she's right to think that. Yeah. Like, again, like Regina Davis, she fucking nails everything about her character. Like she's by far like the most entertaining scene. In fact, there's this really fun fucking scene with the two of them where, he's like, nah, baby, I ain't seeing Lisa Bonet no more kind of shit where, you're the only one for me, like you and Janet Jackson. and I said Regina Davis. Regina King was also in, I think, Poetic Justice with Janet Jackson.
I think she was, yeah.
And she's like, I'll cut that bitch's legs off or something like that. Or like, I'll break her legs. And it's just it's really funny. Like, that's really fucking funny. I was like, that's funny shit.
That did seem pretty genuine. I like that.
Well, I think it's because like she's like, Janet will get a kick out of this. We're friends. Like, she'll like that.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's a lot of... All of the actors are fucking filling all of the moments with these like little character bits, which works.
Mm-hmm.
All of them. I mean, even the goons.
Yeah.
Like the goons are funny. Like the one point,
the goons are great.
The guy, what's he say? He's like trying to get the door open, and he's just like, he can't do it, and it gives Will Smith enough time to get out the door. I think that's when he's doing the strip joint.
Mm-hmm.
And he says something like, I think I'm cursed, and he hands it to the other guy who actually gets the door open. And it was like humanizing in a weird way.
Yeah. He was like, it's not working.
One of those things where the tech isn't working for me. You try it.
Yeah. I don't know. But I mean, all of their reasons to delay, like the bad guys or whatever, are all legit. They do a good job. They make good choices for these things. There's a few things, again, are just like a little over the top, but I'm just like... We're going to talk about one of my favorite detonations in cinema.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So good. And the line that follows.
Yeah. Oh, it's both of them. We'll get to that. Anyway, so he goes back home. He explains everything to her. He's wearing, the construction workers' clothes and stuff. And she's a little mad at him. He explains things like, look, all this shit isn't because of that, you're the only one, et cetera, et cetera. And then he notices she's wearing the lingerie, and this is what makes him think, he's like, that's the day it happened. And he goes through all the stuff. They do he meets up with, he's like, here, get the nanny. I can't remember, Maria.
Mm-hmm.
Have her pull the car around. I'll like hide in the back. And then, they're going to intercept his kid and his friend.
Yeah.
Pull them into the car, find out it's the Neo Geo or TurboGrafx.
Yeah,
I just thought, what's the game that they're playing together? His son and
Jet Moto, one of the Jet Motos from the PS1.
Oh, nice,
cool. Yeah, I used to be good at that game.
And it's funny because, he comes home right after he watches his college friend get smeared, and his son's playing that game.
Yeah. It's really funny that he's like standing in front of the TV being like, I don't know where my kid's at. Like, I'm like, that's such a fucking dad move.
Yes, it is.
It's fucking great.
Well, all he wanted was his kid to acknowledge him.
Yeah. But I mean, he's playing Jet Moto, dog. Like, that was next gen shit.
Yes, it was.
I was sick at the time. If it had been Wipeout, that's the only way it could have been better.
That would have been awesome, but no.
There's a couple movies that use Wipeout. I think Hackers.
Hackers is the first time they used it. They actually made that game for Hackers.
Right on.
Oh shit.
Well, that what we see, then eventually,
Yeah.
Anyway, so we're at the point now where he's doing this like spy shit. He gets the kids are like, hey, we're sorry, and he's like, you're not in trouble if you tell me what happened to it. And they're like, we took it, but it's broken. He's like, well, give it back to me. And this is where, he does the thing where he meets back up with Harry and finds out like what's on the tape for the first time an hour and fucking 15 odd minutes into a 2 hour and 11 minute movie. He actually knows what's going on for the first time.
It's funny because the MacGuffin is not even seen for like an hour.
Oh,
yeah.
Here's the MacGuffin, and no one knows who has it.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's a lot of stuff to happen.
Yeah.
and yet it moves enough. Like it's so kinetic. It's such a fucking relentless goddamn movie that you really like kind of, oh shit, it's been an hour and 15 fucking minutes and there's like an hour left. Oh, what the fuck? You know, like it's kind of like, what if a Netflix series season was trimmed down to the essentials?
Right.
Yeah.
It really is.
Interesting. That is. I find that fascinating.
If this were adapted into a season, I would be so angry.
Well, they did try to make a TV show out of this, but it never went anywhere.
Really?
Thank God.
Yeah, there was a planned TV show, like right up to the point where I think they had casting and like a pilot ready to go, and then nothing ever became of it.
I wonder if anything exists for that out there. That'd be interesting.
It's one of those things where I almost don't want to see it if it did. You know?
Yeah. Well, you can't let any of your IPs die. We don't have any new ideas.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because there's a whole lot of, what was that one show that was on TV not that long ago? It wasn't The Blacklist. Like this, it was basically about the guy. The one thing I remember about is the guy, one of the heroes said, I needed to get some information, so I invented social networking so people would give it to me.
Huh.
Is it that person of interest?
That's it. Yeah. Person of interest. Yeah. There's a lot of this movie in Person of Interest.
Yes, very much. Yeah. Very much. Except Person of Interest is kind of good.
Yeah.
it's a lot of fucking fun.
Didn't catch me.
No, I didn't. I got invested though. It was like kind of a sunk time fallacy kind of thing where I was just like, well, I got to keep going with this.
Because you got me to watch
find out what happened.
Yeah, you got me to watch that, and I'm like, yeah, this is really good, and it got even better when you find out what's his name is like insane.
Yeah,
Sure.
These lines off.
Don't need to finish watching that, or no?
Yeah, it gets really good. It gets big. Anyway, forget about it. It's a lot calmer than this. An hour of that, actually. You know.
I was actually thinking about that, about how that, like, I keep thinking about like what you're describing, and I'm like, is it because this is like a surveillance movie, but it's all they need it to be like an action movie, so they need like the mundane parts to be like boom, 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 boom.
A little.
Every edit feels like a little slap, and some of them feel like punches.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them. There's even just this scene with him and Regina King in the shed. There are so many cuts because like they even use the dog. He has this little like fucking dog that's like a fluffy little popular dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right. They spray paint the dog.
Yappy dog.
They spray paint the dog when they fucking vandalize the house. But it's like fine. Literally like 6 hours later.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, that's spray paint dog. Like it didn't get great.
That's not coming out.
No, that dog is like compromised to a permanent end. Like,
no. It was just it was a punk little dog that they don't kill, but it's used as a prop in this scene where they pick it up and hand it to each other and set it down again, like the way Brad Pitt eats apples in movies.
Yeah. And the thing that got me about that, there was one thing that I picked up on that I was totally wrong about. It's like the dog's collar is bugged, right? You bug the dog's collar,
wouldn't it be?
right? You would fucking bug the dog's collar, wouldn't you?
Yeah, didn't you see how friendly
you're gonna bug everything else?
Like, I mean,
and then I think there's another point later where you find out, like in that home invasion, the dog bit one of the ops guys' palm, and that's why he can't do. I think that's why he can't do the lock thing later.
Shit!
Oh my god, I forgot all about that.
Oh,
I must have been looking away for.
No, I remember that, and that explains why they didn't bug the dog's collar.
So much.
Hey, never mind. I'm not mad anymore. Thank you.
I didn't remember.
It's a hero in this fucking movie.
Yeah.
But this part where he realizes what's on the tape or the disc. This is where we first see Brill's like whole setup. Right, Brill brings it back there, and like
it's basically the apartment from the.
Yes, yeah, it's 100% the apartment.
Except it's upgraded.
It's like in the Wire section of Baltimore. There's like there's a lot of windows.
It's more 7-esque.
Yeah.
Cool.
God
and it still strikes me as weird that, you know, you got a couple kids that know video games and they find this video game thing. And he even says the only reason I took it was because it wasn't even in a box, but it's okay. Right. It's broken anyway. Yeah. And, you know, he flips it over and, well, it's not even got a TurboGrafx 16 card in it. It's got a PCMCIA storage unit. I mean, I'm not saying that the kid would know what that is, even though his dad's a pretty decent attorney. They probably have like really nice laptops in the house, but
but that doesn't mean he's
looked at that and said, this is not a TurboGrafx 16 card.
Here's what would happen. That card would be taken out and set somewhere in the house, and then they'd take it to school, and they would try to see whose friends had what games.
Exactly. Yeah. That thing would still be in the house.
Yeah. I mean, it'd be passed around.
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
but it doesn't matter. Here we go. Basically, he takes a look at it, finds out what's on it. I don't know what happens at the next part, but he's just like, here they come, because they know where they're at, because Jack Black was able to use camera.
The other really cool part here is you get introduced first of all to Brill's cat, Kitty Cat, which is again entirely lifted from Alien. And you find out that he lives basically he calls it a jar, but it's like he lives in this Faraday cage. That's again, it's supposed to be air gap, but he can somehow access systems. Whatever.
Don't worry about it.
But you have to realize that the reason they know that they're there is because Brill stops at a convenience store and goes inside and specifically tells Will Smith, "Don't get out of the fucking car."
Right.
Yeah.
And Will Smith gets out of the car and makes a phone call to one of the contacts
you're right.
who is bugged. Well, now they know where they're at, and they can pull the surveillance information from the store where they have Brill looking directly at a surveillance camera. Yeah. Now they know who he is.
Right.
Yeah.
And this that's a great setup for probably one of the funnier bits in the movie. Where
and as you said, one of the best detonations in cinema.
Yes, hands down.
Yeah.
Basically, his Faraday cage office lab,
the jar
room, the jar.
I feel so bad about this. This setup is so cool, especially given what you saw in the conversations. This is the conversation. Well, by now, this many years later, this is the conversation lab 4.0 or whatever.
Now, here's the thing. I remember a year or two before Conspiracy Theory came out with Mel Gibson, Julia Roberts, and Patrick Stewart getting his nose bitten off.
Yeah.
And there's a scene in that movie where, everything's going haywire, and he goes to detonate his room, and he's got these thermite fuses all around that burns. It goes through his fucking office and his file cabinets and stuff, and it just burns everything and destroys his entire apartment because he's that paranoid. And I feel like this movie was like, bitch.
But what if more?
What if more and bigger? And so here's the thing. They get into the El Camino. And this, I love this whole sequence.
Yeah.
He tears ass out of the building. The guys are, trying to find him.
He's telling him okay, get this, get that, we gotta get it. He makes him get the cat. And for a split second, it looks like he looks at him and he's not
going to open the door.
But then he shows him drive away.
Really well. Why should I save your ass? Fuck you. I mean,
it says everything on his face. It's so fucking good.
Yeah.
It's be useful, get the cat.
And he does. The cat's his little passport, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, same.
Exactly.
It makes perfect sense.
If you weren't holding
the cat's name is Babe.
Right. And the fucking, the goon ops dudes are showing up, and then they were going down the opposite stairwell. It's very Scooby-Doo, and they get into this fucking El Camino, and they tear ass out. And as they're pulling away, they're driving through a railway. There's a bunch of railroad tracks, and they're in kind of a wider distance between two tracks. And they're simultaneously being chased by this Bronco. And then this 1, 2, 3, probably 4-story concrete building that used to legitimately be a Dr. Pepper factory, building, they just detonate it, and it collapses so beautifully. Whoever did this work.
So that's the West Wing's 9/11.
Yeah.
There is.
Speaking of, didn't I noticed that at one point? Didn't they say that what's his name? John Voight's character. Didn't they say that his date of birth was
9/11?
September
9/11/40.
Yeah, 1940. Yeah. 3 years before, I couldn't be blackout drunk and go to Windsor anymore.
That was funny. I was like, because then later you find out too that Brill's character was in the CIA in Iran, moving weapons to the Mujahideen in Afghanistan for the Soviet war. It's so good.
He's talking about how he likes the Iranians.
Dedicated to the brave soldiers of Mujahideen.
Kind of. He's talking about how much he likes the Shah's people. I'm like, you fucking intelligence, fucking spook.
Well, here's the craziest thing about this movie. This movie feels, on so many levels, we'll get to the line here in a second here, but this movie feels like on so many levels it has kind of the vibe of a Top Gun, of a military propaganda movie, and yet.
I love the Shaw's guys. They really know their way around a car battery.
But the net result of this movie is very anti-government.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's very strange.
Because it's very much of that era of techno thriller that,
it's a little empty. It's not like fighting systemic shit, but it is talking about a thing that was a problem and is a much larger
and the crazy thing about it is that it's like it gets so much right, but the way that it's presented, it's just like it kind of feels like it's nodding and winking at you.
It's very funny because it's like I'm still hung up on like the Sorkin thing. So you guys are talking about this, and I'm like,
you need to see it.
Because I'm like, Sorkin looked at this script and was like,
he gave it a pass. Like four people gave this thing a pass. So,
and that's just the ones you know about. I mean,
so it's probably just like for the name.
For all we know, Carrie Fisher looked at this.
Well, Marconi,
yeah.
And why wouldn't she? She was a doctor, But like,
she was like one of the most uncredited scriptwriters in Hollywood history.
Yeah.
But Marconi got the credit for whatever reason, and it doesn't matter. There could be 20 people that worked on this script. Final decision making goes to Scott. That's just it. He's going to change the scene. He's going to move this dialogue around. It felt like he gave Will Smith a little wiggle room to do some improv that may or may not have landed for you. But like this part here at the end is all business, and it's really funny that after the most beautiful detonation that of the late 90s, I'd say they're on this whole chase scene with this thing, and Smith reacts to the explosion as if like he didn't know it was going to happen. He's like, "What the hell was that?" He's like, "Yeah, I blew it up." He's like, and then he goes, "Why?" He's like, "Because you made a phone call."
That was so perfect.
It lands so well.
It's perfect, yeah.
But
and like I said, the only thing that makes me sad about it is you get to see Hackman's lab, and it's like, oh my god, look at all the cool shit, and it's gone.
Yep.
Massive.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
It's like real good and totally gone.
We got out of there with like a duffel bag and a sawn-off shotgun, and that's about it.
As long as we're really invested in warehouse buildings with a bunch of tech shit.
Yes,
absolutely, and the cat.
More invested than some of the characters.
More than the cat. I was really worried you guys were going to say, and the cat died.
No animals were harmed in the making of this film.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Seriously,
not even off screen.
Don't shoot the puppy.
Yeah,
but there's this. What's nice about it is there's like, I don't need a fireball. That's Hollywood. They have, but this is like a fucking mushroom cloud comes out of this building.
Yeah,
and
it's
dissipates quickly enough.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It dissipates quickly enough that you actually see the upper part collapse into the lower part and dissolve so satisfying.
Yeah.
It's got a symmetry to that mushroom.
It's really nice implosion.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And everyone in Baltimore is like,
that he's set this up to do it specifically that.
Oh yeah.
Sounds it. That there was a like behind the scenes sequence of this that they ran on one of those like Sunday morning movie hype shows where they used to show a bunch of trailers, and they were just like, after the movie came out, they were like, and we talk at the end of the episode with like director Tony Scott about, and they'll do this little 5-minute segment between commercials about how he had to set this up, and they just show people standing around because that's really what happens. They just stand around a whole bunch, and then
controlled demolition. So like
that's what it is. Yeah, they I think they hired, I don't know who they hired for this. I'd like to think it was the people that blew up like Three River Stadium, like that family that does this.
They got like Tyler Durden, LLC,
out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Everyone in Baltimore is like, another day in Baltimore.
But it's killer, and it sets off this like weirdly batshit chase scene. That's not the best one, like it, because this is where Will Smith takes the shotgun in, like they're
in this train yard, and
does this character suddenly know how to use a shotgun?
No, that's not the issue. The issue is that these two goons have earpieces in, their windows up, they're ramming into this El Camino train, and there's two trains on either side of them, not really like moving that much, but like enough to like, he's scraping, this is, and the guy driving is just like, pull over. It's like, your windows are up. You have two fucking like diesel fucking vehicles just hogging their way through like a train.
You're not going to hear
as you're ramming it, like even with a megaphone, you wouldn't hear that shit. And I don't know. He gives Will Smith a shot. Will Smith decides to shoot this thing by putting it in front of Gene Hackman's face. And firing the gun and to no ill effect. He absolutely like wrecks the truck.
Yeah, somehow he completely wrecks. It doesn't
and
even
his
make
own
sense
shit
how
catches
it like
on fire
flips.
somehow too. Like I guess the fuel
Well,
line
no.
is near the front left fender too.
Well, that's because like the Bronco keeps like ramming into it and kind of like squeezes the front end to the point where the engine just like.
But is that where
bursts in flame? And that's what makes this. That's what makes this scene like crazy. Is
because then Will Smith catches on fire. But the Bronco flips, but you can see the catapult at the bottom of the frame pulling the truck.
Yeah,
and I was just like, oh, bummer.
I'm just thinking of
like that wouldn't happen. Sorry.
So he wasn't like blinded and deafened by like a sawn off going off. Like
no,
not.
He might as well have smoked a cigarette. He was fine.
Like all the powder and like the after shit. Like,
but the car's on fire, so now they got to get out. And Will Smith, he has to like pull his like fucking jacket or trench coat off. Oh, and by the way, Harry Call's wearing his raincoat at one point here.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
sure is.
So also,
it's
earlier
dope.
when they got into the building, when they breach his.
That's right.
The one of the guys in the hit squad has got like that filmy raincoat on too.
Yeah,
it's also there.
There are so many. Come on, man! I like this movie, guys.
Yeah,
I
kind of do. It's like Campbell's chicken soup versus like the real all day made chicken soup version of
No, I liked it a lot better on a second watching. Even like
I did too.
A decade or two later, it was good.
Yeah, no, it kind of hit me differently than back then. Back then, I think I was overexposed to everything. There was like too much Will Smith, too much Tony Scott shit going on. I was just like, eh.
And this is before like an age of black bagging and disappearing people, but it definitely kind of showed you what can happen if you become a target of an investigation. Even
It's interesting the things that they don't flinch at. We'll get to that, but
it's crazy. It's crazy to me because it's like it presents things that could actually happen in a way that just doesn't feel authentic. I guess because maybe they just didn't want to like freak out the audience that we have the fucking NSA spying on people, and I mean, and they may have greatly also elaborated on the NSA's capabilities at that point, but
the technology that was capable,
but they were still spying on people.
The funny thing about this movie is there was an episode of a PBS Nova show where they talked about this movie, and
Gene Hackman's character.
They reported that the film's portrayal of the NSA's capabilities were fictional, and that although the agency can intercept transmissions, it's hard to connect the dots.
Yeah,
and the NSA actually went on like a public relations campaign to sort of counter the effect this movie had on its reputation.
Wow. And when was the Patriot Act passed?
3 years later.
Yeah.
Basically.
And then after, of course, after 9/11, the Patriot Act, and of course, Mr. Edward Snowden, the film suddenly became one of those things like, no, it might not be right, but it certainly was ahead of its time, wasn't it?
When we decided to do this one, I looked back and I looked at the date, it was like, 98? Oh, for real? And I was like,
And
okay.
the thing is,
it was, wasn't it?
Like the shit.
Well, we gotta hold on. We gotta finish the movie, guys.
Yeah. Right.
Well, Gene Hackman lays down.
Go to sleep here.
Gene Hackman lays down a whole bunch of shit. He's talking about how this surveillance state has been baked into everything since the 40s, and I'm like, well, you're not wrong about that.
Some really good monologue in here.
Yeah.
I mean, we had James Bond, and basically what this is a good era for this because let's see,
he gets a little libertarian-y here for a minute.
Yeah, because we're kind of like at the arc of Art Bell is starting to come down. I was going to say,
it's a little it's a little Art Bell in this segment where they're hiding out together.
Hey, but better Art Bell than Alex Jones.
Well, no, that's the thing, because he hadn't quite ascended yet, but at the time, we didn't have loose change. What we had was basically the fringe freaks who would say stuff on the radio, and if they got too weird, it was kind of like trying to replace the prophets in network. You had your Art Bell, but all these other guys were like, and then I didn't shave for 30 years, and I ate my own, that's what a lot of them were. And what we had here was kind of like this, you just had like a bunch of stoners that sat around and read like that knew anything about conspiracies. They listened to Art Bell. They read like Robert Anton Wilson and shit, and some of the weirder stuff. They didn't take Bill Cooper as seriously, and they didn't, it didn't really clock them that Bill Cooper basically just printed the fucking Protocols of the Elders of Zion and tells you just change this word to this word.
And like Art Bell, it's like you may not agree with his politics, but at least he was like sincere and
he grounded seemed to be a bit of reality. He was a weirdo, but he was fun because he didn't try to tell you to do anything.
No, he wasn't. He also was like responsible. He didn't have people, and you could cure cancer with gems, like the fucker now with Coast to Coast. But like,
he sold gold and stuff. He was a grifter too.
That was the thing.
He was a softer one. Yeah. But the thing about it, though, this movie was what if conspiracies, but grounded.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. This wasn't trying to do.
Well, that's the techno thriller of the era. That's like what all the techno thrillers were kind of trying to do. They were trying to kind of do the cyberpunk thing, but they did it in a way that I don't know. It's like
they're trying to do
kind of the conservatism of that era, I think. Or
well, no, I mean it.
No, it was kind of plugged. It was really plugged into like there was definitely like a very West Wing feeling to a lot of these. It was like post Tom Clancy sort of techno thrillers.
This was like almost right wing, West Wing, but it comes away with kind of a liberal like message of surveillance bad, libertarian surveillance bad, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
But like it's different though. Like I don't know how to describe it. The vibe of this is.
I like what you're saying about how it's a conspiracy theory but grounded. One of my favorite quotes is from a guy named Merlin Mann who said something along the lines of, anybody who believes in a conspiracy theory has never had to do project management.
Right.
And this is actually kind of that.
Yeah.
Yes, there is a conspiracy theory. It's not going very well.
Yeah.
Because people are people.
And just if you drop the word theory of a conspiracy, those exist. Like they're in front of you. These people are fucking your lives. They have addresses and names. This other stuff about like, well, the fourth elder of the Order of Jibberjab said if these particular stars align on this particular night, then that means this guy's going to be president, and also the spaceship will come and take us away. Here's your vodka pudding poison.
When you say grounded, that's neat too, because in this next bit of the film here, he kind of goes on the offensive, and you find out that the director actually has consequences for some of this stuff. But
yet another. I think another callback to the conversation where they start bugging. Like these guys' hotel rooms and shit.
Here,
like that.
I think we're his coat was on fire, and you realize the disc with the
memory cards.
The PCMCA thing is destroyed.
Yeah,
which God bless them, they destroyed the MacGuffin. They actually got rid of the MacGuffin.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter anymore, and they're still running. You think they're going to catch them? That's another thing I have to say. There's a lot of moments in this film where you think they're going to catch him, but then they kind of legit get out of it, and you're like, well done. That's why I think a lot of the action sequences work. And in this one in particular, I thought they were fucked because they're just running across a railway.
See, that's interesting, because when it comes to, I really like stories and films that are brave enough to like, all right, I'm going to kill the fucking protagonist halfway through and do it well, because sometimes you could fuck that up. So it is interesting to like have a film that you're describing that is like, we're going to like string you along like, oh, maybe they're going to get him, because it's 1998. You're not going to think enough where it's like, oh, they're totally going to kill the protagonist.
Well, then at the end they do get him. It's pretty great.
And they get him in a totally believable way.
Okay. It's pretty fantastic.
It's like, just one of those things your luck has finly fucking run out.
This is
interesting.
It's almost annoyingly tidy at the end.
At this point they try to go. They decide they're going to go on the offensive. They find out the name of the NSA director, and they get all in his shit and start really fucking with him. It's pretty
NSA director suffers consequences.
Both satisfying scenes,
and it mirrors back to the beginning when they're bugging Will Smith's apartment, and the montage is almost exactly the same where they're bugging. The NSA director's department.
Yeah, but the difference is they don't trash the place.
Yeah, but you got to give some credit to the scene before that where they go shopping. And they're just in what is basically like a back alley Radio Shack.
Yeah.
It's just buying shit off the shelves.
Yeah.
which is actually kind of an apt thing, one of those ways, which is, it was, a little bit ahead of its time, because now you can fucking order, order surveillance equipment from Amazon. It'll be here in 2 days. Thanks to
also
Prime.
You see too in this scene that this is where the chip bag comes in, because he takes a lot of that shit and rewires it to go against the director. That was right out of the potato chip bag, those stuff. And he says to Will Smith, he's like, oh yeah, this model is one that I basically invented when I was I was there. And they've done some updates to it, but they just turn all that stuff around and put it right back on the director.
I invented it in my other movie, The Conversation.
There's a funny moment later where they're looking at one of them, and they're like, this is our stuff. Like, how did you get this stuff? He's like, I don't know. Like, this is way more advanced than what we have. And it's the same fucking thing that you've seen earlier. It's just line delivery. But it's this thing that Harry took your shit and fucked you up. I keep calling him Harry. It's Harry.
It's totally Harry.
Come on.
They do the research on him, and we talked about this already. And I was just like, you didn't have to even have this scene.
Yeah.
Because everything else in this movie is just it would be so much cooler if we didn't know, if you Boba Fetted him a little bit.
Yeah. In some ways, I'm glad they did, because once the NSA director, or whatever this guy's position is, I know he's not probably the NSA.
He's like deputy director, something like that.
He's a top, he's top brass. But once he kind of realized what he's dealing with, he just kind of has this exasperated, well, of course it's going to be someone like this motherfucker.
Yeah.
Everything else has gone wrong so far. Why shouldn't I have a legendary surveillance expert involved?
And that's funny the way this is where Voight finds out too, because his granddaughter or whatever's jumping next to him.
It's the best. That's one of the best
clicking
scenes
channels, and he's just a dick. He's just like, stop it! You're stupid, and I hate children. And then she keeps doing it, and she's like, look, we're on TV, and
he's ignoring her.
Well, but when he turns, you watch his soul leave his body. It's a really good piece of acting. It's good. And then he sees it, and they're doing the same thing. NSA's there. They're tearing his house apart. That's when they find out. They're like, oh, we're fucked.
That is some fantastic acting on his part, because he has a look on his face that is equal parts anger and I'm fucked.
Yeah, because then they have a staff meeting where the cat's out of the bag, and I think it's the actual director of the NSA says we need to find out who's behind this, and if it was some rogue operation, heads are going to roll. And he's just like, oh.
And in the meantime, they've also bugged that congressman's hotel room and have it on, have a
conversation,
have a video of him having sex with his aide, who I don't believe is his wife.
No.
And
his wife is Anna Gunn from Breaking Bad.
Yes,
plays Skylar.
And they also, after that has been recorded, they start making it look like that the John Voight's character is blackmailing him, because suddenly he has $140,000 extra dollars in his account that his trophy wife does not know where they came from.
I think that's kind of funny though, because it's come on,
it's perfect.
$140,000 today, that would have
bucket.
Yeah, pretty much.
That'd be a lot more. Yeah.
You would need to get a lot more to
really
track that notice.
Well, it was funny because I was.
What did he try to buy Stormy off for?
She could have. She should have.
I was looking up that movie from before. We were talking about The Split, and I don't remember the exact dollar amount, but it's there's a massive amount of money involved. It's $150,000. Jesus Christ,
dude, that'd buy you a house.
$1968,
and we shall hold them ransom for $1 million.
Oh man. Anyways.
So the heat's on for his character, and that's when they reach out to set up a meet.
Yeah.
And this part again is just so well done.
And the meet happens to be at the Baltimore Police Department.
Oh, and this is the best part too. In any other movie, you have the expert who's going to put himself out on a limb, and he has to rely upon basically the hanger-on to operate complex stuff in a timely fashion within parameters.
And who doesn't know what they're doing?
And who doesn't know
always
what they're
works. Doing. Always reliably.
Always works. Every time.
Works.
Right?
Cue the lawyer.
So it's like raining.
He's a lawyer. What does that have to do?
Cue the lawyer. Cue the lawyer.
So, that's not a skill set. I get it. He couldn't change oil either in a car. But he's in this position looking down. He's got a camera with enough of a zoom that he can kind of see Harry, and there's a cue. He's like, when I do the cue, then here's what I want you to do. I want you to start recording. And because if they don't record, it's not going to pick up. It's not going to send.
They're trying to get him to record a confession for killing the congressman. So he's wired. Brill is wired up, and he says, "Meet us on this corner." And turns out he's not actually on the corner. He's behind a fence in the police yard, dressed like a cop.
Right,
he's talking to him through a fence. It's really well done.
Yeah, like the plastic wrapped hat and everything. And
but like
what he's not supposed to do is he's not supposed to turn the mic on because they're going to scan him. So he has to wait to get scanned. Until he puts a piece of gum in his mouth. And he's like, well, what's the signal? And it's like, yeah, you should tell him that, actually, because this guy's a rookie as fuck, you know. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But he does, and he does it. He turns it on time. He's, you know, and then he doesn't understand. Like, this conversation gets really weird because it's like about money, and he's kind of calling the other guy a schmuck, and he doesn't, like, he's like, what are you talking about? And he doesn't do the thing that a shitty movie would do, like a really shitty movie, which is he just throws his hands up. He's like, what are you talking about? And like, turns everything off and leaves or something like that. He like jeopardizes the operation. He stays with it. Yeah. In fact, he stays too long.
Yeah, he tells him too. He's like, you got about 4 minutes before they'll catch us, even with all this stuff. So be out of here in 4 minutes, whether or not I have the confession or not.
Right. So he sees he gets the signal. He turns on the recording. He starts a timer, and the cat's with him. And so he waits maybe 15 seconds too long, and he goes to leave the hotel, and he gets popped right in the fucking face.
Yeah, cold cocked.
They finally catch him,
and they end up catching him. And this is really good too because Brill's talking to the guy.
And he's like, he's talking in a way that he's like, it makes it seem like he's going to sell Will Smith, you know.
Yeah, because he starts saying like, "Hey, I want 1.8 million. It's like, you know, my pension and all this stuff and back pay, and then I'll give it up."
Down.
One of the best "kiss my ass" lines.
I rounded down was so nice.
Well, and earlier, and that kind of goes back to earlier where he's talking about his history to Will Smith, like over dinner.
Yeah,
and he's wistfully talking about his time as a spook.
Yeah.
And he gets to the point where it's like, and you know, at the end of it, they basically made me persona non grata. You can't blame him.
Yeah.
Oh, that scene is also that scene's also where you find out like his relationship with Rachel because like his partner in when they were CIA, when he was in the Middle East, like when his partner died and his partner was Rachel's dad. Mm-hmm. So,
and they made a promise that if something happened to one of them, the other one would take care of the family.
Yeah. One of those,
and that's all he had was Lisa Bonet.
Mm-hmm. Was that promise? Yeah. Oh, that sucks.
And it hits. It actually hits. It's actually like, all right, this lands. All right.
Well, and it does land because like
Hackman's great.
Yeah, Hackman's great, but Will Smith is like, you know, berating him over it. He doesn't understand the relationship at first, and Hackman just punches him right in the fucking mouth.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good punch, actually.
Well, it is a good punch because, Will Smith is a lawyer and Hackman's a spook. Yeah. He probably knows how to punch people.
Yeah. His whole like movement and everything is really nice. But they managed to they catch Gene Hackman and they put them both in the back of the van and like John Voight's in there. Jack Black's driving up front. Apparently, he's got like all the buttons. And
that's a little weird, but.
Well, I didn't quite get this, but I was like, whatever. Don't think
this is the most Scanner Darkliest moment where they're in like the back of a surveillance van that has a recorder in the van so they can surveil the surveillors who are surveilling.
Right.
Who watches the Watchmen. But
and who watches the people who are watching the Watchmen.
Again,
we'll get to
another
that,
kind of callback to because this van looks very similar to the one in The Conversation. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's a surveillance van. They're all kind of
it's got to be way bigger. There's like 8 people in this fucking van.
Yeah. But
it's a nice cargo van.
So this is what they did. He didn't say anything crazy on the street corner, and they bailed out before he could say anything. But this is where they actually do get him to say some stuff.
And somehow Jack Black is the hero because after he gets shot in the hand, like fucking Voight grabs a gun and shoots Gene Hackman in the hand.
Oh,
yeah, like right in the web. It looks like between his forefinger and thumb. Yeah. And you know he's like real mad about it. And he laid him wrap his like wrist up and everything. And he's about to kill him. And one of the goons is like, Tom, hey, quit it. And like I think it's like right before that or something like that. When things start getting crazy, when the gun goes off, that's when Jack Black hits the button because he's like, okay, apparently this isn't a training exercise.
Yeah, this is someone finally wakes up to the fact that people are dead. Maybe this isn't a standard training operation.
Yeah.
HR's going to ask questions.
you can say what you want about this final sequence. I kind of like the way it stacks up.
Yeah,
because of how absurd the movie is. Of course, it could not possibly end any other way.
Perfect.
Yeah, I guess
we got to talk about Chekhov's mobster.
Yeah,
we got to talk about Chekhov's gun cabinet.
Yeah, we got to talk about Chekhov's videotape. Like all of this shit comes together here in the end because they got a problem. They have this like rogue segment of the NSA that has just got them pegged in a van, and Hackman's out of ideas, and then fucking Will Smith's like straight up like, "Hey man, look, I got the tape. I can get it for you." And they're like, "Where is it?" He's like, "Yeah, Washington and 4th," which ta-da is the restaurant where he delivered the video cassette, like at the beginning where Tom Sizemore got really
the restaurant where Tom Sizemore lives in the kitchen.
Yes, he just sits there and he produces like sweat soup.
Yep, it's a sweatshop. But
that's just he's so moist,
and he's like somehow there with his meatball kids, and they're having Sunday dinner or something, just conveniently at the time when they're being kidnapped.
And he's he's the reason. Like a couple characters say the F word, they say fuck, they do.
Yeah.
But the R rating is because of Tom Sizemore.
Yeah.
It's like a comma for him.
Yeah. It's not even Regina King's lingerie shot. I mean,
it's
tasteful.
It's quite tasteful. That you could put that on like at 4:00 in the afternoon these days.
Yeah.
This shit is straight up. He's just like, "Hey, fucking, you eat your fucking meatballs and your fucking food and the fucking fucks." And I'm like sitting there going like, I was once given notes by a teacher about swearing too much in a line, or it's like you want to put a little space between them, let it breathe a bit before you do that. And
no, you have to go full Italian mobster and be like, he never had again,
it works for him
because it's Tom Sizemore.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't come off.
Starring Tom Sizemore as himself.
Where they call him
sweaty.
They're like, "Oh, you're because of shyster lawyers like you," and Will Smith's like, "I believe in my case it would be eggplant lawyer, right?" Yeah.
I'm like, I've never heard that before. Since what are you talking about? Like, what is that? How is that? I've never heard that term. I know several people who work in
that's a new one to me.
The only dude I know named Eggplant, I don't want to out. It's just because like he walked around naked the next day. And it was like, all right, we'll call you Eggplant.
Right.
That's fine.
Anyways,
so basically what happens here
it's a little bit of a bait and switch, really, is what happens.
And it's so tight.
And it's clever is what it is. Because
it's like bristle blocks and Legos tight.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's one of those things where like, holy fuck. Because here's the thing. I don't know if we mentioned this earlier, but like when Will Smith leaves the mobster, restaurant, the guy standing outside is like, "Hey, take a look up there. Say hi to the feds."
Yeah.
And he's like, FBI. And
right, because the whole time the FBI has had this place under surveillance.
And they don't make a big deal out of it, but like FBI, NSA, CIA, not buds.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't even have a softball league together, And so what happens here at the end is because
which again, if you were confused to think this might be a different movie at the beginning, that was why.
Yeah. This words have meaning. And if you don't understand the context of the words, you can be easily fooled. This is a very important lesson this movie shows you at the end, because Will Smith's like, we got to go here because they got the tape. They're calling it a tape, even though it's a memory card.
Mm-hmm.
And it's shorthand because you do it anyway. You use your phone. Or like, I'm going to film this. You know what I mean?
I don't think the guys who I don't think the NSA even knew that it was an actual memory.
They don't know what it is.
Yeah, they don't know.
They probably just thought it was
in the beginning, at the beginning of the movie.
Misconceptions.
Yeah, and at the beginning of the movie, it is a videotape. I mean, Will Smith is showing them a VHS cassette.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the mobsters know what a tape is.
Yeah.
But
the thing is, they don't realize that they're talking about two completely different tapes.
Yeah, it's a
different formats.
It's smart though. It's
very Shakespearean at the end here. Very, very Shakespearean.
Yeah.
It's so good. And, he's like, all right, so it's in there. I'll take you in to talk to the guy. And, we'll get this all sorted out. And then Hackman, for the final time, is like, you're either very smart or very stupid. And everything that happens from this moment on is some of my favorite shit.
Yeah.
Because it's just stupid. And I love it. And it's so much. And it works.
Yeah.
It absolutely fucking works. they go in. Sizemore's like, who the fuck you guys? He doesn't know who he's talking to. He doesn't know who this guy is. He doesn't know he's deputy director of the NSA. He doesn't know who these goons are. Yeah. And, they have this whole standoff where they're talking about, he's like, you going to give me the tape? He's like, no, fuck you. It's my tape. Fuck you. And they both are talking about different things until finally he gets John Voight to like put his gun down. But as he does that, everything looks really intense from inside the van. So Gene Hackman's like, hey, you guys better get in there. It's so great. Yep. And they fucking do. And they start stacking up. And just as everything's about to be defused.
He also gets out of the van at one point. And, he's dressed as a cop. So the Fed, so the FBI. Yeah. So
the FBI actually is throwing up because he has that sugar thing where like he needs to eat, but he was eating a pretzel, and maybe he didn't so that he would get sick, so he would be. I think that's less likely. I think he just
and there's like a further comedy of errors there because the FBI that's surveilling them like run the plate on the van. It comes back as a surveillance van,
right?
So they already know that something's weird. And then out of the back of the surveillance van gets a Baltimore police officer who is obviously wounded.
And he makes sure he pulls it back so you can see the badge too, which is great.
Throwing up and looks directly up at them. So they get a look at him and his badge. And they all get back in the surveillance van. So now the FBI knows that something weird is happening.
Yeah.
But what I found funny is that they ran an NSA plate and it came back as a surveillance van because that's something the NSA would totally do.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that van would come back as belonging to Jack Underwood or something like that,
or shake butt plumbing, or something. I don't know. Just top of my
good
head.
One. That's a good one.
I like shake
butt plumbing. There you go. Now we're gonna know who listened to the whole episode. Anyway, so there's this like giant standoff. Everybody's got guns out, and everything seems like it's about to defuse, and then these dudes start stacking up.
Yeah.
And the cook got a shotgun, and everybody turns into shaky cam marinara.
Yeah, and
if there were some slow motion, it would have been a John Woo film. But
it was fast motion.
Yeah,
brought to you by too much Adderall.
The way that it plays out, though. I mean, Jake Busey shows up and he's like, "Everybody, get your hands in the air," and then it's the fucking Mexican standoff.
And they're like, "We're the mafia," so like, no.
Oh yeah, and it's a complete like across a table, and all Will Smith does is get under a folding table, and all these people are murdering each other, and then like everyone's dead. This goes on a really long time.
Oh, there is so much shooting.
Yeah.
It's like wow, Jesus fuck.
No, who's like shooting each other? So
very Guy Ritchie.
The NSA and the mobsters are shooting at each other, but the NSA doesn't know that they're shooting mobsters, and the mobster has no idea that they're shooting NSA.
It's beautiful.
So it's
very funny.
This is like the opposite of the Rocketeer.
Yeah. I mean, So anyway, Will Smith's he's crawling out from under the table as the FBI shows up, and third funniest line of the movie, the FBI's like, "Oh no, he's cool. We know who this guy is." They just let him go.
Yeah, this guy has nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
He was just at a scene of a mass fucking murder.
Yeah,
he's like, "Yo, he's out."
I'm good. All right. Bye.
No, you're good.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely
of
something
course,
I want
while
to do.
This is all going down, Gene Hackman is just watching the shootout going on the screen and laughing his ass off.
He's like, "You were pretty smart, huh?"
He's like howling, and he's got the cat in his arms, and he's like stroking the cat. And then after the shootout is over, he just gets out with
walks
the cat,
away.
Puts on his cap and walks out through this police cordon because he's a cop.
He's a cop. He's a cop with a cat, but all the other shit's going on. No one's going to pay any attention. Nobody pays any attention.
And by the time they do, we'll find out in a second. Yeah. Oh, it's. I don't know why it's a satisfying ending in that like it just everyone is murdered. No one is going to get Will Smith in trouble anymore, and the guy that helped him got away. Plus, no animals were killed. Like it's weird.
Yeah,
it's really weird. I think it me specifically, I'm like, yeah, you just ticked all the fucking buttons. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think I actually really
justice
like this
is
movie
served
now.
on every single level. The only two people that survive are Jack Black and Seth Green, and that's because they got in there late. Yeah, they got in there late, so they kind of got in there after the shooting really started.
Yeah.
Well, so
you hear them and they're like debriefing their accident. And they're like, "Oh, we thought it was total standard training op, man. We had no idea until the bullets started flying."
It's very funny.
Oh man,
that's like the standard. Like, I was just following orders. Like, that's the weakest.
It is, but at the same time, like, I think they were in over their head. They didn't know.
Yeah.
It's
and the thing is in a lot of these psyop things, I've got friends who are in the military. My dad was in the military. When psyop starts fucking about, they're serious.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a training operation. People probably won't get killed.
Probably. Yeah. So I don't know. And then so then we cut to Will Smith's house.
One final homage to the conversation, I think.
Which one?
Scene. Well, just the fact that Will Smith flips on the TV, sees that he's being recorded, and like you think it's nefarious for a moment. You think it's more NSA shit, like he's being kept under tabs, but then it like flips over to
hairy legs.
Yeah. Like we see the cat going after some fish. You see like the sunset and all this other stuff.
And then call back to Jack Black's leg fetish earlier.
If he only knew who he was chasing, it could have satisfied so much.
Gene Hackman also does not shave his legs.
And because this wrap up is only down to and he says, "Wish you were here," and it's impossible because like the video is going backwards because if like water wouldn't reveal text, it would erase it. But that's fine. Again, if you've already forgiven it, everything else it's done at this point, you're fine here. And then what do they cut to? The screen cuts to this interview with that fucking senator who's in a ton of trouble, and he's sitting there with Larry King, and Larry King gets the last line of the fucking movie where he's just like, he's really doing, I guess, as much as Larry King can.
He's being Larry King. I mean, have you seen Larry King? That's what you're getting here.
Yeah, and then he gets the last line of the movie here, and I didn't write it down because who gives a shit? Because he's kind of just being like, mass surveillance is very un-American, and you shouldn't be able to spy on me and stuff.
He says something along the lines of, "You have no right to come in my house."
Right. Yeah. And then cut to music. And
it's just like a hard cut to music, like boom.
Yeah. I thought it was he was gonna, he doesn't get any comeback or nothing. It's
and I know this is like literally jumping back to the beginning, but there was one thing that got my attention, like right in the opening credits, is that this didn't have the opening credits of a movie. This had the opening credits of a TV show.
It really did.
Yeah.
I mean, this really struck me as the opening credits of a TV show.
And the sounds. Right? Oh man, the sound effects. Just
Enemy of the State, starring Gene Hackman.
It was,
I mean, kind of like you said earlier, it was like a condensed, 5-part miniseries.
Yeah,
most
we just
parts.
ran all together.
And somehow they still had fucking character building. They still had these character moments in it. They had time for that stuff. It's funny.
And all of the motivations made sense for the most part.
Yeah.
Several callbacks to the juicer. It was wonderful.
Yes.
I'm warming up to it a little bit, but I still think that it was really messy in terms of the editing.
Oh well, no.
The editing's a fucking mess.
Away from that, that's spasmodic.
Yeah.
It is. Jesus God.
Yeah,
I mean, I watched it the first time. I got nice and baked, and I was able to kind of like just groove with it. But the second time, man, today I was just like, I gotta look at my phone.
Yeah.
I should probably move back from the screen.
Yeah.
Well, and to their credit, I mean, for a movie that's literally about surveillance, they didn't spend a whole lot of time looking through surveillance cameras at the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a few instances where it's like they're in the tunnel and, that was the other thing. When they were in the tunnel, they just cut to some random guy who's looking at a bunch of cameras in the tunnel. It's like, where the fuck did he come from? Yeah. Where the fuck did he go? He's not here anymore.
The tunnel surveillance guy. Yeah, that was a weird
tunnel surveillance dude. And now you don't see him. He's hanging out with Gabriel Byrne.
Tunnel 4.
What if you put Wilford Brimley in that room in the Matrix?
It would have been brilliant.
The
basically was.
That's I forgot about that scene. That scene was great because that guy he reminded me of God, what was that? Okay, so Battleship was one of those let's make a board game of movies.
Uh-huh.
And
I think that was like the first one. Well, no, not Clue. Forgot about that one.
I don't know. There's probably other ones, but like the point of it is like the movie sucks and I love it. And at the very end of it, they go to this like old battleship from like World War II because they obviously had to tip the hat here. Mm-hmm. It's a museum now, and all the old guys that are working on it used to work on the ship. And they're like, we need you to fucking kill aliens. And these old guys are actual veterans who actually do this job that they filmed to do the next part of the movie. Nice. And it's so good. Like
Honestly, that's the way you want to do it, because you're always going to have some people in the audience that know more about that battleship than anyone else, except those who were there. They wouldn't have done that. They turned the wheel the wrong way. The wheel's supposed to spin counterclockwise.
Like they managed to do like a fucking like skid out in a battleship. I mean, gives a fuck.
Fucking drift.
But because it didn't have integrated systems, they were able to beat the fucking aliens. They're just like the old guys win. It was kind of like, I go for Gramps. Like that rocked. I don't give a shit. I enjoyed it. Fuck it. It made the rest of the movie bearable. Like,
but this also kind of has the same vibes, where it's like, the guy that's going to be the sort of major protagonist is an old guy that knows how everything works.
Guy who knows stuff.
Taught all those kids their jobs, basically.
And that's I think another
develop their tech.
Well, that's another bit of like older school techno thrillers. I feel like techno thrillers didn't really start to get interesting until there was more like moral ambiguity, because there's very clear good guys and bad guys in this movie. I'm more into like Mr.
It takes
Robot,
a while
which
before
is
you realize that like Jack Black's just into hairy legs.
There's a couple people there that are kind of on the fringes. If you're not sure, like, how much do they know about the murders going on off screen?
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't know how everybody else talks to their bosses and stuff, but I don't know about you, but I don't just hang up on my boss after I say something. It's done. Like,
I like how I forgot about this too. I also love how at the end of the movie you get the headline where it's like, Will Smith has his entire life restored and his wife trusts him again, like headline in the paper. And I'm just like, the fuck?
Everything's fine and nothing was ever wrong.
This doesn't seem like a shoehorned ending whatsoever.
Dude, and it's even a happy ending for Regina King because Lisa Bonet is dead.
Yeah.
There you go.
The
entire time you guys are talking about you guys are like talking about this movie, I just have like the first Jason Bourne film just playing.
Actually, you know what? Here. All right. Do you guys have anything else to say? Because here's what I want to do to wrap this and to end this. I want Scum to as briefly as possible summarize what we just fucking told him. So, whatever. Do you guys got any last thoughts?
I just think that, I don't know, techno thrillers didn't really start getting good, at least in my opinion, until like Mr. Robot, where there was that whole crossover between legit cyberpunk.
Don't say this.
And
Shadowlink, you're fucking yourself.
Am I?
Yeah, because, oh man. Damn. Zero.
Yeah,
we got like what fucking the Condor. We got like
sneakers,
this old shit sneakers.
Oh, if you want to get into like a techno thriller that has like the most basic of technologies, you got to watch The Falcon and the Snowman.
Falcon and the Snowman,
where the techno is a Xerox machine.
It's from that era between like between the Cold War and what we have now, the War on Terror.
The Cold War ones were awesome.
That has kind of like this. It just has this, I don't know, a different vibe to it.
Oh, it does.
Doesn't.
Yeah.
Like it's still kind of America rah kind of bullshit.
Oh, you're always going to get that.
See, here's the thing. It's 1998. So unlike 1988, which is like, wow, this cocaine's great. This is more like, have you guys heard of meth? And then they let that guy edit it. And this is how you get that. Like, oh, what a fucking...
Oh, yeah.
There's
I feel
sort
what
of
you
like
mean.
conservative ideology in it, and that's what I'm getting at is this...
Well, the craft...
Reality is a lot more solid.
And the craft was perfected a year later.
Yeah.
The Matrix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, that's the new standard. This was like the end of the old standard of where they were still trying to do like a Falcon and the Snowman or like even Marathon Man.
Well, there
which
was
isn't really
just
a
all these
thriller,
Tom Clancy vibes,
There's a difference though between Enemy of the State and the Matrix, where Enemy of the State, the enemy is people, and with the Matrix, the enemy is technology.
Yeah.
I remember too when this came out, feeling a little bit as if it was like, oh, well, this is just like scaring us, with some propaganda. But it actually turned out to be extremely.
I mean, that's the crazy thing about this movie is. Like, they kind of presented the truth, but in a way that isn't really believable,
Until
because of all the
later.
bad shit bullshit that happens. But
I'm just kind of trying to think of it too, because again, I keep thinking of Jason Bourne because that happened like after 9/11. So is this like definitely one of those like examples of like a film before, and then you think of everything that came after 9/11.
The difference here between like this and a Jason Bourne film is no one except possibly Gene Hackman's character is highly competent at anything.
That's right.
Oh no, and Regina King.
Yeah, Regina King.
Yeah, Regina King is like fucking sharp as shit in this movie. She knows what's up. She ain't got no time.
But Jason Bourne is basically a Superman. And Gene Hackman knows his shit, but he's an old dude. He's not going to go out there and get in like massive fist fights and stuff.
He's not like the old super weapon.
And Will Smith is absolutely a competent attorney that he also is not going to go out there and get in fist fights because he doesn't know how.
Well, part of that conversation Hackman was having, he was talking about how, guerrilla warfare is you use your weakness. Mm-hmm. So, like, if they're big, they're slow, and we can move quickly, et cetera, et cetera. He's basically, you just compare yourself to your enemy, and you just, like, play off of your fucking weaknesses.
Exactly, yeah.
You don't, you're not centralized. And they are, et cetera, et cetera. Like, there's a lot of this movie that's actually like, all right.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to get that tattooed on my body or anything like that.
Good to know.
In the context of this,
in light of current events, good to know.
Yeah. So Scum. Yeah, briefly. What do you think this is about? What do you think just happened here?
Begin at the beginning.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So if you're all ready for another 2 hours,
keep it really short.
Will Smith goes to buy some edible panties. However, he meets his old friend from college who puts a Neo Geo into his handbag without him knowing. After saying their hellos, his friend goes splat into the side of the fire. Will Smith, unknowing of after just washing off the fact that his old friend just got like annihilated, goes back to his beautiful wife and children. His children, who immediately go for the lingerie bag for for the treat of edible panties and a Neo Geo.
It's a Christmas tradition.
It's Christmas tradition, of course. Why?
Yeah, it's funny. You've watched a completely different movie, and yet you're correct.
Better than a fucking fruitcake.
I hate it. Up
until now, it sounds like Hallmark Channel. But carry on.
Yeah. Where were we?
Edible panties.
A bunch of NPCs end up killing a Republican senator, which cool. And Ed ends up realizing that the bird nerd who ended up recording the film.
Bird nerd.
Same.
On point.
Ended up dropping it off into Will Smith when he was busy at a peep show. So they decide to go fuck with him in fun household pranks like mass surveillance and spray painting his dog. After doing this, Will Smith decides to go pro and goes to his old friend, who immediately dies. She points him, however, to a man who doesn't exist. A man who doesn't exist, and him go on a number of antics, which make up the bulk of this film.
I guess the best part
film.
After his friend blows up his home and rescues his own cat.
Because you made a phone call!
Let him cook.
After his own cat, Will Smith strips in front of two Chinese people for whatever reason. And where are we? Jumps out of a window, as you do. They get captured after Will Smith makes a phone call after explicitly being told not to, while Hackman goes buy some burritos or something at a gas station. They get pinched. A car chase ensues. Then they go to a bunch of Italians. The Italians just talk Italian. Just talk Italian at them. A gunfight ensues where the FBI, the NSA, and the Italians decide to recreate that one scene where they both fight Nazis at the end of The Rocketeer. And everyone just walks away fine. They end up an NSA like guy in the NSA is the chief of the NSA who finds another guy in the NSA and just asks him, "What the fuck have you been doing with our money?" He gets arrested, I guess, and everyone's life is somehow just the same as when the movie began after all this.
It's perfect.
Well, I think we left out the subplot in the beginning where like the mafia wanted to kill him in a week if he didn't turn over where the tape came from.
Dude, I don't fucking
It was like a whole separate movie that never happened.
Okay, right. And then secondly, there was also every time they showed a new establishing shot of a new location, they would always have the time. And I'm like, yeah, but what fucking day? It's like 0625.
That would have driven me insane.
Still not sure what the time frame for this movie was.
Yeah, that would.
I mean, it could have taken place in about a day and a half.
It was very
weak. It could have
24 the series, even down to the sounds.
It couldn't have gone like a day because everything you guys are describing, I'm like, this would have taken at least a week, right?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of nights.
Yeah, because there is one point where he tries to check into a hotel and all of his credit cards have been canceled.
I was going to say, why are you going to try and check in a hotel? We asked for ID.
His wife kicked him out.
Fair.
Because the headline and the...
We forgot to talk about the scene where he gets fired from...
he gets fired, too.
His life is basically ruined.
We talked about it.
Because of the smear campaign.
Yeah.
Which all comes back to a whole bunch of things. It's like, this guy seemed awfully trustworthy, and now no one believes him. That's a little... I hate that sort of plot device.
Yeah. But then I saw what they did to, John Edwards when he did Howard Dean. All he did was go, yeah, and then that was it. They ended his career.
Yeah, and that was like the end of his political career because Democrats are weak and spineless. And honestly, I think it was a cool yell.
So now we have a felon president, so I guess law doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah.
No. Guys, you got to look on the bright side.
Yeah.
You got to look on the bright side.
There is one bright spot in this entire rage and hate-inducing time that we have right now. And
enemy of the state.
No. No, it's the fucking Onion buying InfoWars, guys.
Yes.
Oh, man.
Don't get me started. I'm still about that.
Yeah, let's not.
That's a whole episode on
twitching on my eye.
I'm still full of rage and hate, but this is a good way to vent it.
We'll talk about that.
That's an entire thing. We have to start a new episode. We've been here for like 5 hours.
Yeah. That's
going to be another discussion.
I got a way to maybe bring this to an end.
All right.
Yeah.
One last bit of trivia about the movie. There are 2 characters in this movie who are killed off after they say the same line. This conversation is over.
All systems are fully functioning. Running lowlife.exe. System optimization is less than nominal. Server damage detected. Please stop whatever you are doing and make your way to the nearest exit. Technical support is on route. Please vacate the area. I repeat. Please leave. Are you even listening to me? I will sue you. Error. Server block 3 is experiencing critical ignition.
That's right.
System failure imminent. I hope you are proud of yourself. Initiating the Low Life Podcast.